story around here. So, well, we're just going to have to wait and see how the process is going to play out. Now, Consulate, of course, a pretty nice map. Has a lot of like quick plays available to it, but also a lot of intricacy that you need to be familiar with.
A pretty nice map. Goodbye, Blackbeard, the problem child of this major. I'm going to call an Azami ban, because she always is.
How adventurous of you.
Look at that. How did I know that? Utilizing statistics of the most banned operator. How could I possibly predict it? With the safest bet. Valkyrie.
Valkyrie's a pretty oftenly
Castle?
Oh, Castle, okay. We don't often see a Castle banter come through.
Okay.
So that is...
Now I'm listening.
Yeah, I'm listening as well.
Now I'm set up in the chair. I'm actually going to have a very quick look and then see what the rate of ban is for Castle.
I would imagine it is less than 5%.
I don't think it's the first one. I think there's probably been at least... I mean, Castle is huge for some teams' setup. They'll build whole things. Whole setups, whole strategies. He's not somebody you'd bring as just like a quick adaptation, right? Castle is there for a purpose.
It changes a lot of the angles that you're able to play and forces like a different kind of entry sometimes. I wouldn't call him like so problematic that you have to ban him out though.
No, but he can... You know, if you know a team... Okay, so he's been banned 6 times.
It is actually quite a lot.
Across the tournament. But still, if you look at the pick when available, so how often he sort of brought in it, it's 32%, which might not sound so high, but I think that is about the 10th most popular operator pick. And it makes a lot of sense. Think of the current meta. Think of how people like to try and break open angles. Think about... We're in a sort of traded out utility game always, but it's a very...
Architects are super popular overall. Like Azami, Mira, Castle, they're all part of that, you know, archetype for the operators. So, and especially when he got his 4th Castle Barricade, that's basically when he really started to pick up on popularity.
Well, my concerns here are, I think, always going to still be with the technical underdog team, Raza company. They have been massively impressive throughout this tournament. But now, when you get towards those teams that have tasted sort of big games on the biggest stage, those stresses might start to come together when you are this close on these very long days. Virtus.pro. I mean, they're old hands at this nowadays, obviously. They were 3rd last year. They were one of the only teams that was not Brazilian fighting on the final stages in SI 2024. They are more than excited to get back to that position.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and as we keep mentioning, they're always there, and you know they might be old hands at this time. Like, what is it like? They've been playing for like 6-7 years now at this point. So you know they just always keep showing up, and as such, always basically play the same as well. And this is something that a lot of people say. Like when you're playing Virtus.pro, you know exactly what you're getting. However, they are so good at what they do that even if you know exactly what they're gonna do, it is still hard to actually beat them at their game.
I think the main test here will be what I saw that was brilliant from Raza Company earlier was a lot of counter-stratting towards method of play that Shopify Rebellion wanted to bring towards the game itself. We do not have the data here. So is this just hoping that they don't have a game here or going a bit further back, going a bit deeper? It's not entirely unplayed by Virtus.pro, just not at this tournament as of yet. Seto, the man with the kit, wants to see if he can try and just creep his way from Coffin across and go towards the default plant spot. There's a minute left and every single player. So at some point, push needs to sort of come to shove because all 5 Raza players here are stacked over towards admin or underneath. The hunt begins. Actually misses the first player. The pings come together. The bulletproof will reveal everything still destruction, but I mean, it's this big divide you've got across. Pasha pops out and gets STK. And now this might be the start of the end. They lose any width that they had towards this hold. They're still bouncing around the Shumika launcher, and at this point, Raza, they just might have needed to give themselves an option B other than one player underneath. Pasha gets a second. Perez gets Dan the shield, tries to scream their way through, but again, it's all being called. They know exactly what the Monty is planning. Pulls himself back round, 20 seconds, sprayed either side, surviving most importantly, and there's the support from Shepard as well, just trying to thread the needle. Flastery does find Pasha, finally puts him down, but 10 seconds, and they still need to try and stick the kit. Paceto, he's going deep. Perez does get a kill on towards the opposite end. There's a bit of a play. They don't know where the planter is. There's the cover being attempted. They can't quite get it locked in somehow. some way they found the plant joystick. A step too late. But they know they can try and isolate this first fight. It's an easy pickup, Perez. And there's Flashtree. Credit to Raza. They didn't have a lot to work with, but they made sure it counted.
I was going to say, like, STK was in a crucial position. Being around on that balcony, had opened up the wall. There was a very unilateral push coming in from the admin side of things. STK was able to bring that depth. If he would have pushed in, would have been able to find a kill, suddenly this site would have been opened up. But he was picked up first. It's very unfortunate when that happens because you mentioned it. The entire width just gets lost with it. But they were still able to sneak themselves in, get that plant in, basically fight themselves all the way back through. On the retake, they just didn't have the information to basically take those fights evenly. And thus, Raza find themselves with that very first round on the board, taking the lead here against Virtus.pro. It's still a long series. It's the first round out of what could potentially be 45. And this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, especially considering the fact that they've already played 3 maps today.
Don't know a fun fact?
Oh, give me a fun fact.
Well, it's fun depending on who you're rooting for, actually. And if you believe in a sort of, I guess, fate. Last year, VP playing in exactly the same way after topping their group in a sort of similar fashion around, I think there was 1, maybe 2 points difference between when they topped their group last year and this year. They also were up against a Brazilian team at this moment. Cafe and Bank were the 2 maps. And they 2-0'd NIP to then keep themselves going. So, exactly the same sort of position, just a different team against themselves and a different selection of maps. Will this be? Yes, but Raza being able to push and break patterns.
I'll have to wait and find out. The drones gathering the information to see where they can go for a bit of a push, but Pasha caught off on the rotate. The entry kill going to Flashtree here. And that's just a very unfortunate timing there to lose one of those players. Top of Spiral being taken under control now as well. STK pushing himself in. Joystick still finding himself around on the top floor. No longer has the support from Pasha, who's out there. Has to be careful to not be picked a pot of guard as well, because then suddenly Virtus.pro will be down 2 people.
Obviously, they were able to get themselves that opening kill before this time. Drifted away from them as they drift themselves out of that joystick being hunted. Now, there is a fight and a lot of soft above him. There's not an immediate response from anyone else trying to close him down, but they have forced him across about 80-90% of the map from where he was and wanted to be to where he's ended up. Well, they did it quickly and with only really a single usage of, granted, a very dangerous utility in the pockets of who was earlier today in the last map, a very dangerous player. Now, how confident do they feel about the rest of the control that they have? All the VP players have fallen down a minute 10. And although they made a little amount of time work last time, it's probably a bit harder to get it to stick here. Think how long they were sort of proposing themselves outside, around admin, and underneath last time. It was final 20 seconds. Here, they've still got the vertical to do. Not sure if the breach is open. No, it isn't. Perfectly timed. And this with a minute. It's a bit of a chance.
It's also the Cade Claw, so they're not going to be in an easy position to take out. They're going to struggle a little bit finding that one, probably. The hatch staying shut as well. Of course, they're going to try and see if they can get anything done there. Maybe the grenade will do some pleasure there. It's the Tuberau actually stopping the main breach from opening up, so that's going to be forcing them to rotate over towards the top floor. They cannot rely on that main breach to be their main entry point, so there's no pressure coming down from there anymore. As soon as the breach will open, no, Virtus.pro is not going to be fully aware of that, so the phantom pressure will still be there. They'll be acting like someone might be there, even though it's not.
There's the breach on towards the hatch, but 20 seconds, similar place, and, well, Flashtree's able to get himself a second. Joystick's gone. Always does trade out Flashtree. They're going for the aggressive retake above. They know that they can put the pressure onto the vertical, and it's a very, very slim fight here, but they win it out. They have the cover. They're going for the plant. The C4 is loose, and it doesn't quite get the connection, spraying into a smoke that they have long since left, and but there is Shepard! Eternally clutching is the fate that has been dictated for Shepard's life in Siege, but hey, it's a pretty good one to have.
It is a pretty good one. I'm not sure how much time was left in the actual diffuser plant out there. I felt like it could have gone down any second at that point. The smoke was kind of genius because it pulled all the attention towards it. Like, surely they're planting in that smoke. Not the case. Just out in the open, right next to that drone hole. We're going through those replays. I'm going to get to see it. Look at that. Basically, the bar was almost empty. So
we need it in slow-mo.
Yeah, we need it in slow-mo to find out.
Prod. Oh,
here we go.
Slow-mo.
Frame by frame, yeah.
Frame by frame by frame.
It's 0.3 seconds or something.
About a third of a second. He had time. He could have
there was some time, yeah, but one missed shot and you wouldn't have had it.
He could have rested, relaxed, put his feet up.
Yeah, feet up in the air, you know, line up the shot carefully.
One apiece. And again, though, for all of that chaos, I have to give credit to Raza. I keep being worried. I'm the one. I'm like a worried parent.
You are the one that's worried.
I'm the one that's a worried parent going, there's not a lot of time left here. Is this? Are we? Is this? I mean, because it's not just them going for the push onto the site, but also you can see them trying to work it out. However, that's twice in a row. They've entirely proved me wrong. It's against an opponent who, to be fair, that was their whole deal, was final 20-second sort of pushes and executes. It's
even before the 20-second meta and after the 20-second meta. It's just been what Virtus.pro has been doing since forever. They just play a very slow but methodical game that is hard to beat. So you shouldn't be surprised if also their opponents are going to be taking their sweet time trying to break through the entire hold and let it come down to the very final seconds. But that's when you're prone to stuff like that happening. If he's being taken down, suddenly there's nothing you can do as it's an instant round over. Now, first minute about to end as well in this round as the preparation is just being done, windows being open, information being gathered. Now, nothing really to worry about too much. STK is entering himself in from the basement, is going to see if he can find any bit of pressure out there. There's a bit of criticality on the site that he might be able to utilize, but I don't really think that Virtus.pro is going to be too prone to be caught off by that.
Now, earlier on in the series that they played against Shopify Rebellion, all of the players from the side of Raza ended up in under 100 EPS, which, if you don't know, is our sort of basis for measuring. As always, finds Perez, who is usually the one who breaks that trend. But they were also generally barely all even. It took some very big power play moments to get themselves back into the fight as well. And it sort of ties into the idea of exhaustion, right? Playing through the day, when you're having to do massive clutches out, when you're having to do massive lockouts, things can go away from you. Clean take on towards Dan. We saw it from the perspective of someone else, and it was like they got snatched away from the coils of life. 4 versus 4 blinds coming up the bottom of yellow, trying to push this player around further and further. It's a shotgun that wishes to have a fight at this point, but I mean,
for people.
Oh, he's doing his best with it. He knows that he's otherwise going to be surrounded. He's got at least the Banshee to screen, but they've done what they maybe wanted, forced him away from being able to stop the approach.
He's definitely holding on tight there, but that shotgun is always so tricky to try and take fights with. Bisetto taking small amounts of damage from that SMG that Joystick's carrying. They know that they're not having a clear entry through, but they still need to try and take the fight. They're trying to send some rounds back through as they're actually pushing deep now. The plant will be attempted here by Bisetto. I don't think anybody has an angle where they can actually try and counter it. They try to shoot the feed out, but it's way too late. Diffuser's gone down. Bisetto will go down right afterwards as well, but post-plant situation.
Now, how can they try and utilize this space back? Because they still have the vertical. Technically, they also have some of the control here onto yellow, so if you can find a way to just slip your way in down the hatch and lock it off, there might be a bit of this cover. It's the deep angle on benches that's the worry. There's SDK caught out, and at this point now, there's not a huge amount of time to go for the counter defuse, but they've gone for the fight on towards vertical. There's the retake, and Flastry performing better and better. The cover of Live and Virtus.pro. The rotation background to try and get revenge. Well predicted by Raza, and we are trading rounds.
Live coming in quite clutch out there as well, finding the player that was on the site. But overall, Raza just did what they needed to do there. They realized what the hold was. Okay, there is some people out on the top floor. They were able to just push by because the SMG that was being used out there, I mean, it does have quite a bit of recoil. It's not easy to hit those kind of like shots accurately, consistently. So they just dug into the corner where they knew, well, I can be hit, but they're not able to get enough rounds into me as soon as possible. To get the plant down, basically uncontested, die right afterwards. But, I mean, job already done at that point.
I'm a little bit curious what VP fully assumed was going on there at that point. Obviously, as I said, Raza Company did great to shepherd the bit of space that they utilized to get the plant down, but it felt like VP were a little bit hesitant to get involved. Then they went for the sort of 4 versus 4 retake execute. Then there was a 4 versus 2 situation that went away from them. I don't know, it feels like, obviously this is Razah's map, but VP are struggling a little to get themselves fully toe-to-toe with Razah.
They definitely haven't been able to go off to a flying start that you might have had believed they would have if you were checking the social predictions a little bit earlier. Still 2-1, very early on in the series. It's still the first quarter of this map that we're seeing being played out. I always mention it, of course, it's a game of 2 halves. We're not even past the very first one yet. Reaches this time to come around, not using the Maverick, instead the Harpoon gadgets to open up onto the balcony. It's going to give them a bit of a wider opportunity to play around. STK again on this area of the map. Let's see if he can basically make some moves happen this time. As he got quickly shut down, as soon as he basically set foot into that room, instantly removed off the map, had no impact whatsoever. And that's, of course, after we had such a great map 3 in the previous series.
Wow, this was the position where the first player sort of fell away. STK doesn't want to overextend, give his life early on. But again, how, you know, the plant was confirmed at 0.01 seconds left. It could not have been closer last time we were here. So the longer that they can sort of delay versus how quickly Razah can maybe try and, you know, get a little bit of violence going between them and their opponents, they can start piecing things together. It seems a bit of a wider approach here. There's a couple more bodies dedicated towards Spiral itself. They have the blitz to try and make their way across. There goes STK, though, out on that balcony breach. Again, is the entry body. It didn't fully stop them last time, but it's happened a bit earlier, so maybe this will work in either Virtus.pro's favor. They can try and, you know, reformulate this approach, or Razah have more time to try and change things up themselves.
There is more utility this time around, though, for Virtus.pro that they can use to try and stall this out. I'm looking at the Goyo. I mean, that's going to be wasting about 15, 20 seconds now on the actual push. You see it down on the Soda hallway where they've blocked off the door. You see it on the actual site where they've blocked off the door. So, you know, they're going to lose a bit of time here trying to actually get that push to come into fruition. And as the smokes comes through, so is the blitz from Basetto. Will find himself at least 1 kill. Actually, no, it was Flastry that came in. He's finding both of them.
I mean, Flastry is having an absolute barn burner here. Screaming his way across, 7-1. And he looks like he's sort of thirsting for more. Perez gets one, caught on the hop over. There's Shepard doing his best, but Perez in the picked up position gets the response. Oh, joystick could not connect. This is slipping away here from Virtus.pro. 2 rounds threaded together in a row for Razah. First time they've got this map, but I mean, credit for Flastry. I mean, the only other time he sort of had such a big performance overall of a series was against PSG. Ended up about plus 12. Usually he's sort of not that name that's always there in the kill game.
He had some flashy moments in the previous series as well, but not as extreme as otherwise. Like, he managed to get like a couple 2Ks quickly in succession.
He can have impact kills, but 7-1.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something he hadn't had last game.
And then you look at Perez, 5-1.
I mean, this is what you need, right? Like, if Perez shows up and you have one of the other or two of the other players that are starting to also go like in these big numbers, the games are just getting a lot more easy for you to go through. And as mentioned, you know, like the previous matchup, it's definitely a warm-up. Like, you've already been in that momentum, in that mental state. And Virtus.pro, they're basically just coming in cold. Of course, have scrimmed before. It's not like they've just been chilling on the couch all day and like, oh, boys, we're gonna have to go and play a game right now. They've been preparing, but it's different that when you've actually been like in that mindset already. Like, it is just a state of flow, some would say.
You mean the flow state?
Yeah, the flow state.
The flow state.
Some would say, yes.
Some would say.
Some would say.
3-1. Razah and VP don't opt to take their timeout as of yet. Remember, this is them sort of playing on their defense, and you know, you'll have the balances of how teams work, and statistically their defense is better than their attack. But Razah's defense is way better than their attack. It's 67% is their Razah's defensive win rate to 39% attack. The fact that they're making this distance happen here, if we get to the turn of the halves and they're 4-2 up on their attack, if worse, you are probably looking at quite a quick map.
No, for sure. And you know, Raza is also going to be aware of this, and they're going to be able to live with this momentum. Perez, though, will be the first one to fall. It is the Deimos tracked joystick who's able to find that kill. But they're aware of where he is. Pasha, though, coming in with the secure, finding another kill as well. Suddenly, Virtus.pro flying at the start of this round, but kind of locked off, trying to rotate out. Pasha will find another one before he gets shut down. A 2v4, I mean, that's a trade they'll be willing to take any day, any game, any round. Leaving only Flashtree and Bassetto up. This round definitely seeming like it would go towards the Virtus.pro side, but everything is possible. Still a player around on the win, the repel. Bassetto will find a kill as a grenade forces him to rotate around. And suddenly 2-on-3, that's a lot more even.
If they can try and find a way to isolate one of these remaining players whilst there's a bit of a distance between them, Raza, they could get towards the trade, but it's time to drone, time to prepare, and time to go for the cover. 2 smokes and the single frag grenade means they're going to try and focus themselves on towards a plant, but remember, it's going to leave them in almost a 3 versus 1. Claw and the Tiburow canister.
I was going to say, like,
flew through there. It looked like a claw was thrown, and then suddenly it stopped. I was like, oh. But the wall does get opened, and the smoke canister on bottom yellow. At this point, they're going to be throwing themselves into a little bit of a meat grinder, but with bullets.
I think the smoke on the yellow was, of course, to stop any potential instant push to come out. As soon as that breach opened up, you kind of want to isolate your fights right now, and you kind of want to force Bassetto to move in first. You have the opportunity to deal with him just as himself. As the last smoke canister is now being used, that means there's going to be 15 seconds of play where they can be together, but he takes the fight alone, and now it's only up to Flashtree here. This is exactly what Virtus.pro wanted. They were using the smoke to isolate the player, and as a result, they find themselves with their second round as well.
3-2, and the best round, obviously, that they've played so far at this point. Remember that their other one was a last-second planter stopping clutch, and I think it was a 3 versus 2 at that moment, maybe even a 4 versus 2, so kind of a breath of fresh air to Virtus.pro here to be able to get one so solidly. They're not going to go back up to console by the look of it. Instead, play themselves on towards piano, keep themselves rotating, bring themselves the confidence. And I'm still a bit curious as to how this one fell apart last time. It was a 4 versus 4. The plant went down with about 20 seconds left. And it wasn't really answered with anything during the attempt at the plant.
I mean, I think it was just that, you know, they had a lot of verticality. They banked a little bit too much on it. And as soon as they went for the reload, because, you know, they got some shots out, it's actually when they just sent someone right on through. It might have been, a bit of timing where they weren't aware that the plant was going down the moment it did. Also, the location of the plant was just very difficult to get from vertical angles, forcing them to go into a retake situation, which, to be fair, went, for the most part, very well for Virtus.pro. They were able to get all the kills on the board, just not the last ones that actually mattered in the end. So a 3-2 is where we're at right now. They're, again, going for that expo site. This time, don't see a lot of pressure around on the top floor, though. I think it's just Shepard, so Interesting is joining now as well. So they might be taking this a bit more horizontal this time around.
Seems like they have their immediate idea of a drive STK. Utilizing the shotgun, and Dockerby is down towards the chance at pulling up maybe Visa stairs, find some pressure. There isn't anybody that's on the immediate fight here, but, if you can get towards the hatch itself, you can offer some of this pressure up from underneath. There's the same break going on towards the top. They want to try and fight for the vertical a bit earlier this time. Last time they did a good job of just pulling the space that they needed. It seems like even though it was successful, they want to go with a plan B here. Push across from the side of admin, force them at least out of sort of the CEO and the console side, maybe back towards the top of the yellow stairs, and go for a plant from the reception desk side instead. Is it worth the risk of the change? I don't know. That's down to Raza predicting Virtus.pro would do predictions on towards them. Good idea, but did not catch the head.
I mean, most importantly, you've just taken care of a very important position. The player that was right behind the soda machines is no longer there. It's a difficult position to clear, especially if you look at the utility. The press being shut down by always rotating up the spiral stairs. This means that Virtus.pro is trying to retake that top floor a little bit more aggressively. They know what's going on. They're trying to take a hold of it. And if you look at VP's positioning right now, they're basically all over the place. But Pasha and Always both die at the very same time again by Flashtree.
Flashtree is just absolutely running the show here on Consulate and doing this back and forth during calls, during checks. They know exactly where the player is. They're waiting for him to try and run his way out, but it's a crossfire. Flastery has to make his way through, and if he doesn't know about the player back towards the small office, well, that's going to be an unfortunate execution. The air jab into the player, hops out. He's run his way around, and oh, in fact, no, that was the split there. He didn't actually fire it. I was so excited for the possibility of a player going for a big loop around. He didn't do it. But, well, as Dan gets Pasetto, he might have wished that they had done something. That was inside the site. There's Flastery getting joystick. That was the crossfire. Holding on to this position. So now at this point, Shepard is stuck in a box. Blinded. The flash hits Flastery as well. And it's wasting precious time. There's the second. Swings it and they execute. But 20 seconds left. Flastery with the chance at an ace here. And I said he was running the show. Now he's got to run the round. Live goes down. 15 seconds up against one of the most storied players. But Dan shows why.
Knew exactly where he had to come down from. He was up on the top floor with the amount of time that was left. Could only be coming down spiral. Then choosing to go for a bit of an aggressive angle out there, challenging him. Right as he drops in, shuts him down, shuts down the ace. And again, a very fleshy play coming down by Flastery, just finding those first two initial kills. Then another one on the crossfire. Finds himself a fourth eventually. But we find ourselves with a 3-3 split. Evenly distributed rounds. And if you looked at the very first four, you would have maybe thought that this could have been a 4-2 or even a 5-1 for Raza. Virtus.pro decided against that.
Well, an even half, will it be enough? Is kind of where I find myself sat and wondering. Obviously, as I said before, we haven't seen this map from Virtus.pro. There's stresses on their attack, but attack hasn't been technically where they're stronger, and it is definitely on the defense where Raza enjoy their time more. This map itself, 62% defensive win round to the 37 attack. It is just, I mean, it's rocky.
It's not looking good for VP.
It's rocky terrain, but you know, it doesn't mean too much until we sort of get into it. You don't really know what to prepare against. If you don't know the attacks, you can have quick plays, obviously, up towards the desk window. You can try and do a slow and steady. It's a team that was famed for a slow and steady adminitate once upon a time. And I think they actually went on sort of an interview with Milos during the season where they said, look, we're playing this stuff a bit slow. We're playing this a bit cautious. We need to be a little bit more assertive and aggressive. And, well, how is that going to net itself? It starts with pressure on yellow.
It does. It doesn't look like they're going to go for an admin take, though. It looks like they're eyeing up to just go for a bit of a window push. Grenades are being tossed in, are going to take out some of the utility. Also making sure that Pasetto's actually not going to have the opportunity to go for a swing towards yellow. The three players currently looking... Oh, actually, jump out from SDK. He's going to be fighting Pasha. Finds himself back into the building right afterwards as well. That's the player gone that was holding the yellow staircase. So that's going to be providing them with a little bit of extra security here on the side of Raza. Still, they're lined up. They're looking to maybe go for a jump in from the window. Flastery will go down as a result from the connector window, bringing it back to a 4-on-4. They have the E1D. They have Perez now injured. There's a blitz inside of the connector area as well. He has the opportunity to be very much an oppressive factor in this round as Shepard tries to get in for the plant, but the injure almost coming in from below.
Love that angle, but it didn't quite net them the result they wanted, but they know they have to make a move. Now, Shepard, he is actually just on the ground waiting for potentially a hop out, maybe even baiting up towards the player above, but without the smokes, it's going to have to turn into either get rid of SDK here and then try and play the space itself. They have time. They could drop their way around, go for the clear, or if they're confident in the work of Joystick, who is very much stuck here, I mean, what else could they do? They just sort of found themselves sat waiting. There was not a support structure for Joystick. He was just trapped. Now as SDK gets Shepard outside as he went to try and find his way inside, Virtus.pro just stalled out. SDK drifts on, goes for his fourth, and he finds it. Virtus.pro, they found themselves off to a great start, had two problems, didn't come up with an answer for either of them, and just stalled out. And that was when Raza went, let's lean in, let's punish this, let's take this.
Yeah, great round coming through, especially SDK out there. Managed to get the very first from outside of the window. After that, just finding 3 more. But again, like a 4K to come through. Flashy last round, didn't quite win that one. This time STK round is secured for Raza. And you hear the energy coming off that. It's always great to see. Raza, of course, a team with probably like almost no expectations on them to be like one of the top contenders to go through for the live stages. Now, you know, they're basically finding themselves a game away from doing that, taking the lead in the very first map.
I mean, I said it earlier, before their game against Shopify Rebellion is at some point, that sort of ticker of winning people over, that barometer, it'll go bigger and bigger and bigger, depending on the teams that they beat, depending on the positions. They almost technically got first in their group. They almost, they're doing it. Will they do it? And that will happen probably after this game for the majority of people, if they can pull against Virtus.pro. Not only a massively experienced, one of the most experienced teams sort of in this situation, especially one that hasn't gone through as many changes as others, but one that was massively experienced last year, one with something to prove, and yet 5 players who have never played in an SI before, where the last time 3 of them played on the stage, 2 was at Jönköping, 1 of them was at Berlin.
That's long times ago. I mean, that's so long ago.
Flash3 and Live have never played on a major live stage, and that's something that is going to fuel that barometer. Obviously, the first kill went away from them. STK, who picked up all 4 of his kills on the previous round, is once again sent towards the early body as the hunt comes onto Perez. He leans into it. The drone is giving the game away, at least on a position, but he's able to find his way out of there. And the C4 on towards the Deimos gets them! Great communication and coordination there from Raza. The support structure was in play, and once again, they're able to just flip that body balance into their favor.
Very important kill to come through. It's a trait, though. Always. We'll find Perez from below. I believe that the kit is currently... Oh, no, it's in hands of Shepard right now, so still nothing to worry about as of yet. But it do need to go down towards that basement eventually. Pressure still coming down onto that first floor first. Shepard looking to make a push happen here. But there's a player around him. Is he going to be fully aware? I think it's actually live. Rotating off as he's been scanned by the Jackal. Meaning that the last 3 players are all on that basement side. However, Flash3 finding himself on Spiral. Rotating up, bit by bit, trying to be aggressive. I mean, verticality is being created right now by Virtus.pro to trying to find and isolate some of these players. They need to be careful of this potential rotate to come up from Spiral stairs.
4-3, bits of damage done either way, but 40 seconds, and you said the danger here is when they go for the plant. There's still a C4 in the pocket of Paceto. It's a lot of soft potential. There's the chance at getting themselves, you know, pressured the longer they hang around, so they're trying to force them further away, and Live's response is to actually head up top himself. He's going to rotate his way around to seeding. They have a full awareness, but 20 seconds, he can just leave. All he's done here is draw the vertical player away. It's the 2 versus 2 on the plant. Pasha does find Live, so that's the rotation game secured. There's Shepard getting Flash3 on the back. It leaves just Paceto called, pressured, and a C4 that caught nobody. Pasha gets us still trading rounds.
Important kills to come through in the end there. I mean, for a very long time, we were in a bit of a stalemate in that round, and the top floor was being retaken, and you're like, no way that they're losing it like this. Live in a perfect position to just waste time, waste about 1 player of his attention, and got picked up. After that, the rest of VP pulling the rest of the triggers that were required to win that round. 4-4. An equal score. We're going to rerun that garage. Probably thought that there was a better way to deal with this. Just running it back. It's not something we often see anymore. Like, a lot of the times, people just continue their rotation like they do in scrims. You know, go CEO, Garage, Expo, CEO, Garage, Expo. Just continue going on like that. But instead, they decide to rerun the garage right now. Probably saw something in that last round. It's like, okay, if we change this little thing, we're going to be able to take this round away and put ourselves back into 5. Or they have less faith in their other sites. That could also be the case. But that will be more worrying considering you picked the map.
That's it. I mean, it's always the doubling down theory, right? It's always the mental sort of differences. Obviously, we've had the other side of it on VP where they still opted to rotate, still opted to sort of change things up, whether they won or lose. It's keep themselves moving forward in a game. Don't find yourselves stuck in a bit of a rut. But eyes on admin, a classic VP tale from days of yore. And it seems like they want to try and hunt down STK. You said it before, obviously, you know, he's not usually a player that gets himself massively positive on the KD, but he had the best map he has played earlier on in the series against Shopify Rebellion. Here with the hunt coming pretty quickly and adeptly towards him. A prepped C4 baited on Coffin. Popped a step too early because the player left to pull the goo mine out. Oh, and they just missed the rotate as well. It's a lot of near misses, but they probably gutted. C4 didn't connect.
That is the thing, right? Like, you have the Deimos as the tracked person. You also get to see where the Deimos is, but it's not real time. So you might have been like, okay, he's moving in that direction. Blow it up now. The goo mine actually, as you mentioned, saving his life there, whether he knew it or not. SDK in the meantime being tracked again, but a quick cancel to come through. Not sure if that was due to a mute jammer he just walked into. So instead, it's going to be another Jekyll track to come in, this time to Perez.
Well, Perez is under a bit of pressure, more flashes, but as he rotates around and the door in yellow is still soft, he's doing okay with it. Back on cams, back on the hunt for a player that's protected by a mute jammer. SDK, again, wasting so much time. The goo mine cuts across, and so does he. He slips his way out, though, and down into the site. It's good wasting of time, but there's no punishment. On the back end of it, with all the tracking, the Jackal and the Deimos, they haven't been able to grab and net a single kill on these loose players, which is probably frustrating for them, but at least it's utility that they can try and trade out later. Now, 50 seconds, and I talk about sort of late approaches here. They're worried about going for the entire cover onto the door itself. There's the bandit boxes that will get removed so they can get themselves this wall open, but you know that they're going to try and lurk their way back up. Is he about to find this fight? Well, he didn't really fully expect it. There's Live with two. I think, did he get someone through the soft, or was it just a swing round onto the bottom spiral? Either way, that's another body taken out on the back of that fight. They lose those two players on the track. And now, VP trying to pick up the pieces. The roll of the ROU doesn't even go through the floor properly. The wheels are sort of falling off, but Pasha drives on, takes the head. There's Live getting his third. They have the vertical control. They have another body dropped. And as we keep trading rounds, we are not done with that yet. I need to see that Live thing. I think the other player was in piano, but it might have been a swing to his right.
I think it was a swing towards the spiral staircase, and then afterwards just securing the player coming into the same room as him. But I'm not too sure. We would need a replay on that to be 100% confirmed. However, Raza, a huge round there, especially with Live opening up. Like we've said it in the last game, he's had these clutch moments. Not that this was a clutch, but it was a great opener. We won't get to see it there.
Dang.
No, that was... Dang. Oh. Earlier. But... Raza finding themselves 5-4 up. They're definitely pulling their weight right now, and they are 2 rounds away from taking their first map home. Now, when they were in the first series, their first map, their own map pick, went to 8-7 before they finally managed to do it. I doubt that they're looking to do that again. I think, you know, a 7-5, a 7-4 is something they'll be content with. If this goes to overtime, you never know who's going to be taking this victory, considering the fact that we've been trading rounds almost consistently so far in this series. And as we head back towards that top floor, they have to make lives hard for the side of Virtus.pro. See a glass. We do see the sense as well. As they'll be looking to find themselves with a bit of an execute on the side. See if they can isolate these players. SDK finding himself alone in Visa. I've been looking to go a bit aggressive out here, and the RC Rotero that's going by is not droning him out because he's worried about utility. So is STK going to be unspotted in this area? That's a big question, because if he is, has a great opportunity to get some content done here. Joystick opened up the window, wasn't watching it, and STK rotates out, but that could have just been a kill. Gone either way. Den, in the meantime, from the opposite side already, finds himself near the staircase. STK quite literally just escaped at the exact right timing.
I rolled it back as well. It was a kill towards the bottom of Spiral.
Yeah, that's
and
what
then
I thought.
he swung around, tucked himself in, and got the follow on the Deimos as well. But 2 operation trackers being able to pull out the situation sort of shows where things are slightly falling apart here. And Raz's brilliance is refusing to die. STK on secret, waiting for the Johnson and the Prosher to spray through. And there's the go, but they were more than ready always. I think he maybe baited with the flash, instantly pulled himself down, and then just aimed at secret. They had the read on everything STK wanted to do there, and all 4 of his kills have come on a single round.
Yeah.
He might be due another one soon. He's probably hoping he is.
I mean, he's been doing quite well on like wasting time here and there. I mean, you saw in like one of the previous rounds, a constant tracking to come through. Dan, beautiful headshot onto Perez as Virtus.pro's looking to trade back the rounds yet once more. Pushed themselves to 5-5 as Dan finds yet another. Basetto and Flashtree, the last 2 alive. RC Rotero's given away the position of 1, but he's trying to hold on tight. Dan down below. We're trying to put some pressure in from that direction. Maybe even find a different staircase to head up from. But VP, they've been in this situation so many times. They're not going to be rushing it now. They're going to take their time. They're going to take it slow. Make sure that everybody's in the right position to pull the trigger on this final execute.
I mean, surely this one can't go away. Flashtree gets the down onto Always. Maybe we'll be able to get the finish once this fight has gone through.
Someone behind him right there. Just saw that they were repelling in, but said it will go down though. Flashtree, the last man standing.
1 versus 5, and it's right in the middle of the mix. There's one gone. They've been able to pick themselves up. They're going for the plant. They should be able to get this one secured. They're prepping themselves for the run out on the opposite side as well, and they scatter. Every route, every run is watched, but Flashtree gets himself his 2nd, and look at that. They just go further back. Fear and respect, I think, at this point. They don't want to give him any opportunities because he's just been so good this map. But at this point, even this player, I don't think, can
long arm this.
try and cement themselves over. 16 seconds, and the desk shuts him out. 5-5.
They all pull back really quickly, really far after that. I was afraid he might have been able to go in long arm for a bit. Instead, went for the fight. And that means we equalize that scoreline back to that 5-5. A timeout now being called. I wonder whose it is, though. Is it
Raza?
Raza? Yeah.
It's a Raza called timeout.
Have a little bit of a chat. See if they can find a way to secure at least one of these rounds. Hopefully 2.
I mean, they're this close to the end, right? And you have to sort of look at the fact that after this, you're heading into your opponent's map. They know that the series earlier, eventually it came into their favor, but if it had gone 2 maps, they would have lost. And that one went to Max OT. This one feels like it's heading towards Max OT as well.
Yeah, it definitely could be. But it could also just be over in 2 rounds. Because, like,
but it could also be over in 2 rounds.
It's such a game.
That is how it works.
Yeah, but it's such a game where like they're trading rounds, but these rounds could also just be a coin flip. Like, it's a single fight every now and then that is a difference maker.
Well, you look towards the first half, obviously the opener was all Raza with one sort of break from a Shepherd clutch, and then the end of it was suddenly Virtus.pro remembering how to hold their defenses and getting themselves locked in. Here, it just takes something to re-trigger that idea of, oh, this is how we run. Obviously, you know, Flashtree puts himself over the 2.0 KD. As I said, it's not always his sort of show, his sort of drive. In fact, of all the previous sort of days, the only time he's otherwise ended up positive was the day against Falcons, where he was +3, and then the PSG day that I talked about before, he was +12. This is that sort of level that he was playing at back then, and sure, Perez isn't quite getting through bodies as he usually is, but at the same time, this is one of the best things about this Raza roster is things change up. On the other side, it's pretty even, pretty standard, but that is, to be fair, how Virtus.pro usually set themselves up. They've had like always had a massive day on the first day. Joystick had a massive day against OXG on the second day. There are standout moments, but still.
It is a very consistent roster, and they have been for years. Like, everybody's always able to show up, and that's, of course, a strength that Virtus.pro have. The experience and the fact that everybody has the same clutch and game factor where they can just bring it on and not slow down until they win that game. So, as approach will be made through Visa. They're droning it out. They don't see anybody out there, so control will be taken. Of course, we're finding ourselves on that split site, so they'll be looking to get a plan down. It looks like on that first floor. It was a bit dangerous, though, with the amount of explosives that could be coming in from below. You see the pulse out there. STK has a nitro cell. Just replaced it, I believe, and explodes it in the window frame. Blaster still has one as well, so there's still a lot of danger and threat trying to actually get that plan down later on in the round.
I do like the one that was just placed there. It was like blowing up his escape, like running away from explosions. The pulse on this map, it's just perfect utilization. It's one of those very popular operator combinations, even throughout the changes of the map itself. 4 big flat sides, and somebody who can get the full read on where they're hanging and holding on to. What else could you want? As they try and clear their way here across from the admin side, Perez might be the first one they run into, but as I say, that he backs off. With SDK for support, they are just wasting time. They're sort of baiting them in towards the play space here and, drawing them out as best as they can.
Joystick slowly looking to creep around. Perez is waiting right underneath that window. He's actually going to show his back. Joystick would swing over. He would have been able to find that kill. A little bit too late on the action. Actually decides to jump down. And it is going to be the Fenrir Mine that pops up, takes the fight, loses it to Perez. So Raza find themselves with a very important kill here in this round 11.
Now, as I said, the Pulse just feeding all of that over towards the approach. Almost a bit of slipped timing there as they start throwing the flashes out, start getting themselves a bit more aware onto it. And it's actually only the 4th time the opening kill has gone into the favor of Raza throughout this entire game so far. So statistically, it's something where Virtus.pro haven't really been able to get the conversion anyway. Can it be something that works for them? Suddenly, no. 2 quick kills, lives gone. It's back and forth, though. A 2 versus 3, because it's 2, almost immediately right back. A 3 versus 2 situation. Trades came instantly out. And now it leaves the chance at the plant. Oh, that is so close. Blastery is entirely caught out, though. And as Shepard locks it in. Apparently opening KD doesn't seem to be that driving statistic. The telesite finds STK alone. I said he was due, trying to get a few more kills. It's his round and his time, but oh, somehow got that. I thought that was the end of the round. 2 more to get. The vertical, they just need to pull themselves further back. I mean, look at this hold. He's going to have to come right into the middle of it. They can play on contact. Initially, they don't, but with 14 seconds, they're just running in circles at this point. They know they can get the round locked out. 6, 2, 5.
BP finding themselves on map point on their opponent's map. We said it before, this game just has the opportunity to go to max OT. Like, it's been back and forth, and player X has a big pop-off, then player Y has a big pop-off. They just keep surprising each other. But Virtus.pro, to find themselves now in a crucial position at that first map point on their opponent's map pick. They've seen Bank. They feel comfortable there themselves as well. If Virtus.pro manage to get this very next round, they are looking set to be qualifying themselves to the main stage as well. Of course, still have to play another map for it, but they're in a really good position in that case. Expo.
Yep, get themselves round on towards Piano side instead of going down towards Cafe in the basement.
Yeah, they've had that available, decided not to go for it. This position will be on next. Verticality, big important part here usually. But you start looking at the lineup here from the side of Virtus.pro. You see the shield, you see the Sense RC roll devices, you know, putting up the light screens.
The
ROUs. ROUs, yes. And you start thinking, okay, they might be looking to just circumvent that, see if they can find a way around it. But on the other hand, you do have the pulse. You mentioned it. You can look up 3 floors. So you can basically see anything that happens anywhere on the map if they're coming from that direction. Having the opportunity to use that nitro cell as well is going to be making it quite difficult to get that plan down until you find and hunt him down.
As I said, the entry statistic is one that goes away from them, but the sort of hole in the setup here is how much of that focus is going to be here from the side of Virtus.pro. They have the shield, the smokes, the walls, and the chance for the glass to try and do some damage. They are approaching from the top itself. Will they go for the full, you know, removal and the drop, but they don't know about Basetto. He's about to find another fight on the window. He's well prepared for it. Perez finds always. Oh, and I said it had the scent of an OT on it.
It's definitely starting to look like it here. Flash straight, waiting, but he got baited by the drone. Shut down by Shepard. Back to a 4-on-3 now. Still in favor of Raza. They're still in a good position to push this towards overtime. They got to take this calm. They got to not make mistakes like that. You had the opportunity to basically just sit tight and wait. Decided to go even a bit more aggressive. This is how you might start out and lose on these kind of situations. STK, he's running for his life. He's trying to be hunted. I'm not quite sure if Virtus.pro is definitely going to go for that bait. Basetto with that pulse, trying to figure out where the actual push is coming from, but not getting anything on the scanner so far.
Well, that C4, we heard it for a split second, and so did Dan, but unfortunately nowhere near enough time for him to move out. There is obviously Pasha stepping in on that position, but between a Glaz and an Ace, what can they achieve here, especially without any smokes left? This is just going to have to be the awareness that plays against them, but as it's fully read, Basetto, I mean, just sort of says, here's free lunch. We'll call all of this motion. In the meantime, they've hopped in. There's the fight against the Pulse, and a triple kill round for Basetto. They know where the last player is. They get 1. They don't get a second. And we are in OT.
Again on the first map, and the map is Raza Company. And now, OT indeed. 3 rounds to decide who's going to take this very first one. And honestly, I cannot even call it. I cannot even, you know, make a 90% certain guess. It's quite literally just a coin flip now because they keep trading rounds. They keep pushing and surprising each other. And even, you know, if Raza wins this very next round, it is still a 50-50 in who's going to win the entire series because they just keep on trading.
It's fine. I didn't want to watch the Super Bowl anyway. Viewers of these two teams, well, you might have the benefit of having multiple monitors. If there was an NA team in this game, they might feel a little bit more dedicated, but
they're going to try and speedrun it at that point. It's like we have to watch the Super Bowl.
That's why. I mean, they played some very quick series early on.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think that Virtus.pro really cares about the Super Bowl.
You never know.
You never know, but
there's a surprising amount of Super Bowl fans in production across it all for what is a Danish company.
Yeah.
Love themselves some
it was
football.
Big in Europe as well, but
Football.
It's like I don't know anybody who watches Super Bowl inside of Europe.
I watch it to feel involved.
Okay, well.
And for the ads. 6-6. Raza. They have been able to, as you said, do what they did earlier, but can they get it locked in? They've obviously utilized their team talk already, their timeout. Virtus.pro will try and ride this one through.
For now.
And, you know, we sort of said it at the time, like the 3-3 half, it's not a nightmare. This is sort of playing a bit against the statistics of the day and of the map in the tournament, but you never really know how teams are going to hit it, especially here at the end of a long day at the start of a new series. Always doing a little bit of drone crime, but crime doesn't always pay.
Yeah, drone got arrested for it. Basically, shutdown incident is STK. He found himself a single kill after the 4K he put up in round number 7. It's in a good position now, though. Grenade bouncing around the corner is going to relocate him. However, I believe the player just decided to leave from the window the moment that he was running by and survives with almost all of his HP.
That's what it looked like. He was around the grenade. I mean, I'm not going to pull that apart, and I'm sure he's not going to either. But one thing we can talk about is the fact that you know, in terms of where they're wanting to go on the site, on their first swing on the defense, I believe they're back, you know, obviously finding more and more success on Piano Expo. They don't want to give common sites to Virtus.pro to attack. They think this, what was previously a tertiary for them, and where they came after, you know, a bit of a late throw-in towards it, is home for now. And well, moments like that is a bit of a gift, but you can see that their control of the space, how far they pull themselves back, where they want to go, very well threaded.
STK still around on that top floor. Is going to try and be that delaying factor, waste as much time as he possibly can, and that's basically been his role over the majority of this map. He might not have been able to find a kill, but he's definitely been able to find a time. Dando finds life. He's one of those big clutch players that Raza has been utilizing today. Flash tree about to go down as well. I believe he might have been shot through the drone hole at least a little bit as he was rotating around. Finds himself about 10 HP right now. With 40 seconds left, it's definitely starting to get some pressure right now. Perez finds one before the trade comes in from Shepard. A 4-on-3. Virtus.pro looking to put themselves on map point here.
The second silence falls as they need to reevaluate the position, but they get given Flastry. Goes a little bit too wide. Shepard gets one on the back, and SDK, all that's left, opting to drop for the fight. They're in the cover of the smoke. He wants the angle, and he wants actually benches. The wall pops open. There's a surprise moment, but he doesn't get anything from it. They know.
What? They don't
know! No! Twice! Twice he has had a great opportunity to cement kills.
The diffuser's
That's
down!
the key gold! They've got to get it picked up, and they do, but can he fight and find his way out? No! Oh, that was so many opportunities! None of them could stick!
It's just a baffling end to that round there. STK, he's been trying to waste time on that top floor consistently. Virtus.pro decided, you know what, we don't care. We're just gonna go through as they call their timeout now. I mean, now is probably a better time than ever because, you know, this map is about to end. You're not bringing this onto your next. But oh my. Did he get close there to just stealing that round away? After the first shot through that breach, they had no clue where he was. Misses the second opportunity as he comes around the rear. Somehow finds himself with the diffuser injured afterwards. And again, there wasn't a lot of time. He almost was able to steal that round away by just simply living. But Virtus.pro just a little bit too quick, a little bit too compact. Was able to get back onto the diffuser, instantly start the defuse again. And as that timeout ends, I mean, what do you talk about now? I mean, there's been plenty of rounds that you've played, and, you know, this is kind of like a surprise factor that you definitely did not need. And you now find yourselves on a map point. See the relief there from that round. Now find themselves on the fence, on the top floor. A clash is being brought and hidden as well. Always not wanting to give away that game. This might be that one little change to the setup that's going to slow down Raza even more. Especially if they're going for a bit of an admin take. A clash just has so much potential of slowing that down. Now Monty's being brought by Basetto, at least for now. Might indirectly counter it, but of course, you know, the Clash is always going to be winning that 1v1 due to the fact that the Zap just does this little bit of damage and slows them down. It's going to be coming down to which team plays better behind their shield in what could be the final round of this first map.
Six to 4 is Max OT beckoning. Now, as you were talking about Clash being on, playing for the time, but look at this, it's a little bit more of a support structure. They're hoping to surprise the lean in, but it's a Clash. Sort of makes their presence known pretty intently of saying, oh yeah, do this take you love to do. We have a response. And to be fair, they've done the same parts of the take every single time. It's done. It could have also just been the security of making sure that nobody tries to go for the Maverick based on the prediction, based on the chance of being C4'd off of what is a very narrow area to maneuver and get your way out of. At this point, eyes on towards admin. Dan isn't a million miles away to try and contest it, but, well, I'd say that. I was going to say he doesn't immediately contest it, and he thinks better of it as well. Catches out some of the utility that's coming in. and then peels himself right back out. But Raza, they're in, boots on the ground and spraying for their angles.
Captain traps have been spotted. They should be fully aware of the operator being around now, taking down the very first set. You probably will see the Clash rotating around now. The push is coming in from the admin side. The Clash is there to slow things down. Playing around on the Soda. So what is the way that you can get rid of this operator now? Maybe an air jab or a grenade. That's all they really have. There's no verticality that can come into play here. So they're just going to have to go for a swing. And as the flashbangs go out, there goes the air jabs. Cannot really lean back into that hallway anymore, so they're going to have to find a different way to try and challenge and slow them down. Because if you're at a Clash right now, you need to be on that front line, not on the back.
On the hunt underneath, Perez trying to cause some distraction, cause some disturbance, maybe pull a player away, but it also works obviously as a deterrent of, oh, I'm being tracked, I got to get out of there. Paceto, huge amount of damage taken here as the Monty shuffles their way in. They're being zapped and down. They overstayed their welcome, and that was the Deimos underneath. Now, a 5 versus 4. The plant was not confirmed. They peeled themselves away from the smoke, and they're going to see if they can try and make use of the time that they have. But 40 seconds, the smoke now being forced further and further away. You can see Perez again on the hunt.
Injure from the smoke.
And there is the injure from the smoke canister. Doesn't die, but it's a very, very tricky pickup to get. A rotate underneath. Somebody is going to hunt down the Deimos, but it's SDK that gets Pasha first.
Oh,
that smoke should maybe get live. No, it doesn't. They dip away, but it also doesn't kill Paceto. He sat lying and waiting. SDK driving forward 10 seconds, and
they're all
Dan
lined up
in the perfect place. 3 kills for Dan. Now with the fight back on, Dan slips away. They pick it up and move it, but here's the fight. There's one. Dan will lock it in. Round the corner. There's an ace. Dan!
What a way to lock off this first map. Dan with the ace to come through. I mean, they were all lined up, just trying to help back up that Montaigne. The smoke did so much work out there, keeping them locked for such a long time. And Virtus.pro, they find themselves with map 1 under their belts, heading over towards Bank very soon.
Well, what a way for that to come together. What a way for us to get there. Will it be our last OT of the night? We'll have to find out after a break. Well, we almost needed every single round, but seemingly that is the Raza way. However, this time, didn't quite go in towards their favor. So now they've got to see if they can try and step it up, because earlier, when they got onto their opponent's map pick, it just did not go their way at all. The intensity could not quite carry them over. A final round that fell a little bit to the wayside. And I mean, it's kind of a surprise, because although it was neck and neck, a fair few of those rounds were big clutches. To be fair, you could even cite this as being a big clutch moment. Dan rotating his way around the back. Only a 4K technically, but I think we give him the ace.
I think we give him the ace as well. I mean, you know, the Montaigne was about to be helped up, so he basically secured that deal. Like,
yeah.
We can basically say that, right? Like, it's the ace to come through. Definitely, Virtus.pro will feel a little bit relieved after that first one going their way. I mean, you know, they haven't played any Consulate throughout this tournament so far. It's very far down on their preference list as well. But now they're headed towards what is their favorite in terms of, you know, not banning it themselves, basically always being banned against. And the time they played it, they won it as well. But the thing is, we've also seen Raza play this just a little bit earlier today.
I mean, that's it. It's also technically Raza over the past 180 days, their top preference map as well. There's history there. There's sort of setting themselves up and building on the back of it there, and it was, hey, a max OT earlier on today. It's not that it's impenetrable for anybody, but it plays well with their playstyle. It plays well with how they like to handle themselves around the map itself. And, you know, as I said, it's just one of those things where this whole map series felt like two teams with very similar pools hitting heads against each other.
See them talking right now. I mean, they've played Bank earlier today. They also know that Virtus.pro has been watching that. So just got to go over the mistakes you've made now. Make sure that those are not happening again. You just change your plan ever so slightly if you have the capability of doing so. Because otherwise, Virtus.pro is going to run with it for this game. You know, we mentioned it many times before as well. They're so experienced. They know exactly what they're doing. You know, they're just having some nice, calm conversations right now. They're like, okay, let's get ourselves ready. Let's get ourselves in that mindset so we can get going on this second push. Virtus.pro wants to end this with a 2-0 themselves as well. They don't intend to be here for what could be 44 rounds of siege after we only missed out on the single one. They are here to be, again, a top 4 contender. They are here to try and lift the hammer themselves this time round. So they just want to dispatch Raza as soon as they can.
At this point, obviously, as you said, it's sort of getting yourself solidly locked in, getting yourselves moving forward and getting yourselves pushed on. It's been such a long day at the office here for Raza. They've made sure that they've sort of kept themselves fighting. There was great energy, but again, a long series, an OT series, it's gonna pull out of them. It's gonna feel heavy. Having to get yourself going and mentally, all right, we're back into the lobby. Like, there's a lot of time that passed between the last series they played and this one. And you could sort of see some of the effects last time. Obviously, they dipped off, not entirely off the face of the earth, but to go from the game that they played on Bank into their labs where it was, what, a 7-2?
Yeah, that was a complete blowout. Like,
exactly.
They were nowhere to be found on that map. Just making simple mistakes, such as not taking care of a bandit when you were trying to go for opening up. Whilst it's so easy, you had the utility to do it. Just had to send Buck through the window, send in 2 or 3 skeleton key shots, job done. You can get that wall opened up. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that you need to hope is not going to go wrong now. I mean, they've played this map. It was their map pick in the previous series, so you would assume that there is a bit of a better game here than what they've had on labs. But again, like, it could just be fatigue starting to play a role right now. They have been up for a long time. It has been a long series now. It was a long series before this one that we're currently starting now as well. So, you know, they've had a long break.
But currently, here, 9 p.m. in Boston. We are, I mean, you can sort of see it on the players, and they're a very active, loud, cheery team. They've been making sure that they keep the energy and the vibes high throughout the entire day so far. They know how close they are to getting to the live stage. 1 series, 2 maps they would have to be able to take. And again, across this roster, you're looking at Flastrian Live, who have never played on a live stage with an audience at a major tournament, maybe at local stuff, but not at a tier 1 level.
Yeah.
Visetto and Perez, who last played at Jönköping.
Which is a very long time ago.
And SDK, who last played at Berlin. Both of those separate instances, they came 5th to 8th. They were knocked out in quarterfinals, but they played in front of a crowd and experienced that. And it has been a long, long time since. Virtus.pro, obviously, much more recent history.
Yeah, I think it's the funny thing about Virtus.pro as well. Like, before, like, I think if we go back a couple of years, they were like the team that didn't really have that much emotion on their faces when they were playing.
Yeah.
But they're starting to get more and more loud as well over the last couple of years. You know, they're starting to get more cheery and stuff like that. But having that crowd experience is just so, like, valuable, especially if you reach those later stages, because for a lot of players it is going to be like that extra heaviness that's weighting in your shoulders because people are watching you in the same room as you are, and they're going to be cheering for either kills you make or the opponent makes towards you. And you know, especially if you have the crowd with you, it's great. If you have it against you, it is such a heavy burden to carry.
Well, I believe we are starting to find our way flying in towards Bank. Could this be the end of the night? You all at home think so? Virtus.pro, 85% of that vote versus the 15. Raza, a long day, a tough day, but back towards Bank. As we've said, a map that they have history on even earlier today, a map that has been a bit back and forth, but decent scoring against PSG, struggled against BDS. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Well, apart from PSG, I guess, actually.
Another shield to be removed, yeah. Sorry. I was just looking at the bans already. Montaigne to be removed. That's 2 shields off the board. Of course, leaving around the Blitz and potentially the Fuse, but they're not quite having the same impact anymore. Valkyrie now gone as well, and then the big old question comes through. Is it going to be Izami again? I mean, you know, Izami's always useful, but maybe less so on Bank. And indeed, it is going to be Cade that is removed eventually. Those hatches are just going to be way easier to open up when there is no Cade. Bandit tricking is the only way they can keep stuff closed. But if you start thinking about where can you bandit trick on this map, there's not a lot of spots that start popping up in your head, except for maybe Quad Ball being the only one where you could maybe try and pull that off reliably.
Well, let us get in to maybe the last map of this evening. Maybe the start of a setup towards a hell of a story. Raza, they find themselves leading in here on their defense. They'll be trying to build up a decent amount of sort of groundswell before they find themselves on the other side. As I said before, it is, across all of their sort of play spaces and setups, their preferred side. On Bank, even more so, a 72% win rate compared to a 33% on their attack. And that is after a lot of played rounds across the board. The only site they haven't touched is Teller's Office and Archives. I'll be surprised if we suddenly get a taste of it. They're pretty comfortable.
It's just something with the verticality that's right above it that makes that side a little bit less desirable by a lot of these teams. So probably won't see that quite a lot as well. Maybe like a single time off, if it really comes down to it. But as we're headed towards lockers first, you see an open area hole to come through. The hatches have been opened up, so there is going to be the fallback route for the players that are out there. As the first drones start to roll in, it is Virtus.pro that will be on the hunt, trying to find themselves roamers. First of all, identify them, and then they can maybe hunt them down together with Dan, who has that Deimos, force the players to fall back towards the actual site, so you no longer have to worry about them on that first floor.
Hunting down loose players is hopefully going to be a little bit better this time around for Virtus.pro. They struggled with a couple of loose moments from Raza. They seemed to get a good idea of the game as it went on, but still, just the Deimos forcing them further and further away. Raza, they played a little bit coyly towards the end as well. They definitely learnt lessons about their aggression, overstaying their welcome, and well, as the fight is on towards open with the extension of the castle, and is allowed in this position, well, they feel confident as well. Joystick might try and leak and edge his way down White stairs. They have eyes on players that can make quick rotations out of there as Pasha wants to cut off that pressure. Now, pressure above, the surprise round the side, and they are already gone. Live was not going to sit around for that.
There's 3 players now finding themselves on the actual side. There's 2 still off the actual side itself. So they're going to try and have to locate those first and start pushing them back. I think they were around open area, but when I just looked on the drone at Dan, it was pretty much clear. So we might just have all 5 players on the side itself now, with Besetto trying to retake the blue staircase just a little bit to try and waste some time. Starting to pop out that Goyo canister. He's trying to rotate back towards the side as well, but there is some fire down in his way. He's going to be slowing him down. Luckily, though, it is Virtus.pro that is not yet in a position to punish him for that. Hatch as well, still being closed up. They need to open it. 55 seconds for them to get a push underway. And as he uses a first heart breach gadget, he's going to be starting to put up some extra pressure towards the side with, of course, servers being taken under control by Dan right now.
Oh, straight through. Dan was able to find an opportunity on towards SDK. It's not the worst one to lose. Just still looking at live with 3 smoke canisters. Still a C4 on Besetto. It was ripped, raring, and ready to go. Wants to loose it onto anything that comes close as the approach. But as the Bees reveal the player, he's going to be tough to kill. Dan gets one, but there is Flashtree. Gets always from deep. Had the angle on the player going for the plant itself. There's still a C4. There is still this pressure they can apply. That will not catch them. It just rolled back. The C4 is shot from a pre-fire 7 seconds. And they've got to swing wide to stop it. There's Dan with the cover, but they're above. Perez, pressure on the hatch, ripping down. Castle barricades that cost them the worry and the watch. Perez all that's left, but couldn't have been closer if that castle wasn't there. You have an engagement on the hatch. You can cover the planter.
But that's why they left it. Virtus.pro, they were like, this is a welcome gift. We're just going to use this here because I can freely use this hatch now as a way to cover the rest of the site. They have to pull it down. That makes some noise. Dan with a great take there onto the very first player right next to the mirror window. Having to cover down as well. Shooting out the C4 initially, saving his teammates' life. A great round from Dan. And they find themselves to that first round on the board. On lockers. Very important round to take because it has been historically hard for attackers to take under control. As they get themselves that first round, they head up towards that top floor, but it's a great start for Virtus.pro.
Time at plant, well, past the time out at that point. It only took a bullet, and you could still see that there were gaps in the approach there, having to juggle it out and trying to force the C4 player. I'm not sure entirely how the smoke player got caught, but I'm assuming it was just from the great cover from Dan. I mean, 4 kills, it's a safe bet.
I mean, it was a great round from him.
But that was the... If you didn't have Dan in that position, so adept at picking heads, got the C4 attempt and shot that out, got the smoke as he swung wide, you assume, tried to throw the canisters, the round is lost, probably. Obviously, there's still changes you can make, but it means you can't plant on the default when you have no time to really formulate a response. Things are likely to fall away, but up towards CEO.
There you go, SDK gone.
And that's it, gone.
Quick entry. Dan found himself into, you know, the little side office, jumped in, knew that there was going to be a roamer around there. There's SDK gone, and he's been doing great at wasting time in the previous map. Not been able to waste as much for this round here. That's just going to be the instant opening here for the side of Virtus.pro. That's just one buddy less to worry about. And you know that you're up on the top floor. It is quite difficult to get back onto the site with the attackers all around, considering that most of the staircases can be watched by a skylight. So, you know, they're always going to be aware if you're pushing in from that position. Shields are being destroyed by these grenades. They're making the positions harder to play. And there's a player prone right next to the plants who is trying to put some damage down onto live. He's living steadily for now.
Besetto has the watch and is going to utilize it to try and get rid of the Selmas, but unfortunately could not find the angle.
There's a second.
Always have your pocket mirror window ready. And it's something we actually saw them play with a little bit earlier on in the showdown. Whether a Twitch drone is going to be enough to try and pull it apart or not, either way, Kanto wall will not get open. The bandit trick, Flashtree, gets both sides covered.
Fair enough.
I mean, we've seen a couple of big, bold moments here of utility trading out, and you're wondering, what is the cost really proving here? Virtus.pro, look in the pockets. They have 1 frag grenade, 2 flashes. And other than that, just really a couple more ROU walls. It's just going to have to turn into a little bit of a shove into sight now.
Yeah, it definitely will be. But they already do have the second one. That's huge. Taking out Perez from Janitor. We stressed it so much in the last series. Janitor is a do-or-die position. If you hold that, you basically control this site. It is now gone. No one can play there anymore. And they have the opportunity to start pushing in. But you see Live, he's trying to retake. He's trying to play around the area here. It's going to shot right through the ROU. And now the plan's going down right behind the desk. There's no one in a position to try and challenge this.
Well, as we just find Flastry alone in a post plant, he gets the down onto Always. But for his heroics on the previous map, fortunately could not make anything land there. 2 in a row for VP. It's actually a rarity throughout this series. Well, 3 has been impossible right now. Can they find a difference? A timeout.
Oh, that's very quick.
From Raza.
I mean, things just aren't really connecting here. Virtus.pro's picking them apart, especially in that last round we saw. Very clean takes coming through, basically unchallenged time and time again. When we were down on that basement, I mean, there was a bit more of a back and forth to go through, and it really came down to Dan picking up that 4K. However, he was able to find 1 or 2 kills of people just being in an off position, just finding themselves in a wrong position. So if you can solve this now, if you can solve this early on, you got to. Because they're also relying on getting 4 rounds here, Raza. They know their attack isn't great. They need to get 4. So if Virtus.pro finds another, and then maybe even, you know, a 5th round for good measure, they also know that the lower bracket is going to be their future. As we start off again, I sometimes wish I could speak like all the languages that like the teams speak here.
Never too late to learn.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many languages to learn. They're gonna go for Portuguese, go for Russian, like Korean, Japanese. At that point, you have quite a lot of them. French in some cases as well.
Well, let's split them up. We'll divide them.
Yeah, sure. Let's get one talent member to learn 1 new language each.
I want to choose Korean.
You want to learn Korean? Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
I'll think I'd go for French in that case.
All right. Well, we already have talent members that can speak French.
Well, that is true.
So
that doesn't really count.
Milo?
I just said I speak, you know, Dutch in that case. There's only like 2 players that speak it. There's not a full team, you know?
You can speak to Eagle Maze.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And Stefan as well.
And Stefan.
Yeah. And Anne, you know, I mean, I'm already doing quite great here.
2-0. Virtus.pro, they're also doing quite great. And we'll see if they can continue that. Obviously, timeout was very early call, but to be fair, look at it. 2 rounds, only 2 kills here for Raza. Said it earlier on the second map of the showdown, they just sort of got shut out and shut down.
Yeah.
And now it's harder to build yourself back on. They don't have the advantage of having the map under their belt. They don't have the advantage of it being their first series they've played today. Is it going to be quite tricky to sort of emotionally build yourself back into it? They're back down towards lockers. They're back onto a site. There still seem to be some soft that needed to be opened up there on towards where we saw the mirror window before. And I'm assuming they'll get round to it in time.
I mean, the thing is, you don't really expect them to go out in like a 7-2, 7-3 right now because of the fact that they've played this map earlier today. It was an 8-7. They had quite some good moments. Of course, they're playing against a completely different kind of team with completely different kind of caliber as well. But it's like, you know, you're expecting that we're going to see more from Raza. We're expecting this to, you know, at least go down to 12 rounds.
Yeah. Pressure on and round above the hatch itself. Will they try and go for the drop? SDK, I talked about it before about staying there welcome, and every single door is seemingly being watched. He has some support here. 3 players currently around the open and kitchen area, and pretty much the same amount of Virtus.pro players trying to round them up and get them shut down. You can obviously see Joystick getting them angles. They're always just trying to find a route, and there it is through SDK's head. And that is the first one gone. SDK still unable to get himself into this game.
Last map, he was doing great at wasting time when he was on the defense. This time, he's just being shut down early, time and time again, not really having the impact that he had in either the 3rd map of the previous series they played, or even the last map that they just played, where he was able to consistently waste like a minute of time and time again. Just not here now. Live dropping as well. That's just smoke on. That's a huge operator to lose on a map and a site like this, because we so often see that smoke wasting 45 seconds. So Virtus.pro, they've just bought themselves an extra minute.
The roll of the nades on towards You assume at least the bulletproof or eyes in towards the site itself. They still need to open up the soft. There's still Goyos, exactly. And they burn way longer than you want. Busetto, the Jaeger shotgun, was tempted with a fight, blinded out. He knows he's being caught, and there's pressure, there's a hunt, there's a bit of damage done from the top, and now just Flastry left alone. 20 seconds. At this point, all they have to do is try and charge at him and get the trade out, but they're going to hold off, go for the plant itself. The movement under the hatch is punished. 2 flawlesses in a row for Virtus.pro, either side of Razah's timeout, and things are not looking good.
No, it's definitely not looking good. Virtus.pro has their number on this map, and this could be the inexperience to come down from the side of Razah. It could also be fatigue from the long day that they've had. I think it was 6 hours ago or something when they started, 7 hours ago when they started their very first series.
Yeah.
So it is a rough one to try and stay up in that high energy phase the entire time over. And VP 3 in a row, first time in this entire series that's happened. But the way that they've been doing it, I mean, it's a flawless, and I think it was one where they only had like 3 people left. There's only been 2 kills in those 3 rounds. So far, Raza just had not a single word to say in this match whatsoever. And that is a worrying sign for the remainder of this map and their opportunities of making it through the upper bracket. You should mention it. There's no first map that you've won to hold on to. Nope. That's gone. Like, it's do or die right now.
And every round is going to feel more and more painful. And, you know, it was that conversation I had at the beginning. Every team will have limits, and you won't know them until you hit them. And it comes from experience, and it comes from, you know, training it at the most high-intensity siege possible here. And the longer you go on at it, the better and better teams you're going to be facing. It's the nature of the beast. And Virtus.pro, is this just them? Obviously, it's their first series of the day. Having that extra in the tank. The map itself, you're looking at about a 57 defense win rate to 42, so they've already sort of exceeded that on the most rough scale, but...
And another thing as well is like Virtus.pro is so used to playing late games back in EU as well. Of course, it's like a late game here now. They're just right in their elements. Like everything is just going well for them here. It would have been more worried, I guess, if this was the first game of the day. And with 2 minutes left, they've already flushed out some of those players on the top floor. Still have Flastry around, though, holding some long angles, waiting for people to rappel through. Live as well, near the soda machines, near the stock door, trying to hold on for his dear life. But if either of those two dies, the support structure they have on that top floor is just completely gone, and the other is prone to follow soon after.
Now, obviously, we had 1 player bank from Virtus.pro before this, and technically they only won 2 attacks. Because that was all they needed. They had such a good defensive half. It was a 7-1 victory.
So they've improved, you want to say?
So, well, they've just proven the point that they can play this map all the way. It is very much a playground for Virtus.pro, and you're wondering if it's something that we might not see so immediately in their future again, especially if this game continues on in this manner. Trying to put the pressure on towards Live here. He's not quite shut down as of yet, but it's just bullying for the space here on the side of Virtus.pro.
There's a minute left. There's not a lot of time, and all of them are currently around on that first floor. Some of them on the sides, some of them adjacent to it. Virtus.pro, they definitely have a lot of work to do for this round. It is looking like Raza has some good cards in their hands right now to take this one home. Summons are being used to open up the quad wall. That's probably going to be the point of entry that Virtus.pro is going to be looking for to try and get the plant down from. Maybe get it right behind the kitchen bomb chassis. And with all the verticality they have, they're going to be aware that no one's going to be around in archives. No one's going to be able to make a push happen from there. And especially with Shepard in there now, he's just going to be acting as a glorified flank watch.
Well, he's creeping his way around. As you said, he's got that rotate a bit covered. And, you know, he's concerned that maybe someone will step in and the destruction on a castle wall is keeping things close. There's angles that are opening up, and it's actually a very dangerous position they are in. But there's Busetto, sprays on, gets traded out, always there to stack up, and yet the rotate on blue, he's actually forced into it, but there's the crossfire again. Look at the time, though. Dan caught out, and this, a 2 versus 1 versus 1, but where's the last player? Nowhere close. Pasha cannot find it. Raza, they get 1 open, but now they got to see if they can try and get a couple more to keep themselves toe-to-toe
He thought he dropped there. That's why you saw him look around on that top floor, because there was smoke. He didn't really see. He thought he dropped the hatch after he got that kill, because he was looking to go towards the connector, see if he could get that fight, but then found himself to actually still be around on that top floor, slightly off position. But to get themselves that round, you just mentioned it. So that is at least a lifeline here for Raza. But I said it before as well. They need 3 rounds. They need 4 rounds. There's still a lot of work to do for them here to get themselves in that right position. Especially considering Virtus.pro has had such a good defense here in the past. Raza's going to have to fight through that. We've said it many times before today. Their attacks haven't been the greatest this event. So there is pressure on them there. And Virtus.pro, it seems like currently they're just playing without any pressure. They're just playing their game. They're playing what they know they do well. And they're just cruising themselves through some of these rounds. Not the case on that last. I said it, I was worried for it because it was like there's a minute left. They don't really have any control. Of course they have top, but they didn't open up anything on the side. And then they found, oh wait, there's a castle barricade. Let's get the sledge open, which is of course like as soon as you hammer that, you're gonna die if there's someone playing right behind you.
Yeah. All right, Raza, you have one and be the start, the building block towards a bit of growth here. Open, I think statistically, and I'm just going to have a quick glance over, is their best one? It is. Well, it is, including the data from this game so far. 80% of their defensive have been won on it, but Lockers is their other stronghold, and that is obviously fallen away throughout this game. They're back towards the top. They think they can make this one work. It was a couple of just sort of cross-picked kills. There was actually a bit of a worry and a slow-out from the side of Virtus.pro. They'd used a lot of utility. Then it had been a big trade game, but things like Kanto was still locked. There was still a mirror window on Janitors because they had to double deploy. And then they were just able to get a couple of picks and push in and kill everybody. Here is maybe a moment that Raza can sort of grab onto and try and keep that locked in. The track stingers will give them some protection. Nobody is currently putting the pressure on, but SDK around Beepers isn't too far away. Joystick does find Perez, though. Once again, that opening body is Virtus.pro's.
Yeah, they've been able to find that one consistently. Perez being gone again, like we mentioned, he's one of those top performers on this team consistently. He's not been able to hit his mark, really. I mean, none of them have really been able to hit their mark in this game so far. The 1-on-3 on the scoreline kind of tells the story. They are aware of the fact that Basetto is in this corner. They tried to relocate him with that grenade, but weren't able to quite catch him off on the back of it. Not sure if the mirror window has already been opened up. You see some of those Kiba barriers used to basically reinforce. I think that's been opened up. Yeah, to reinforce the janitor side. Because, again, it is such an important position. They lost a player here the last time around. They cannot afford to have that happen again.
Now, as always, props himself up against the angle to swing in. Basetto is the next to almost get knocked off the board. He has the long watch. He wants to try and make his way in, but 40 seconds, it is still the chance at trading live. Suffers, just spraying and sort of pre-firing on towards these rotated angles that they keep being caught out on. It's almost like Raza falling into old habits, being a little bit angsty. There is Dan getting the cover onto Flastry live. Cannot stop the planter. SDK does get Pasha, but it's a post-plant situation, and as Flastry swings around, they get that drop, but the watch on the windows. SDK's got a tough choice to make. One of them is probably have to go out the building. Now there's only one of them left. There is the Claymore. I mean, you know it's going to happen, but yeah, when you're in the 1 versus X, it's one of the trickiest post-plants.
And if you're in a 1vx, you cannot, like, if you jump out, you've lost the round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of was just get it over with, try and get another kill, but that was basically unwinnable at that point. As soon as you're down all alone. Virtus.pro find themselves their 4th round in this map. They're continuing on with the strong kind of pace. Again, the early opening towards Perez really helped. Also, you know, the pocket mirror window no longer being able to be used right afterwards. We go back towards the basement. We go back towards lockers and CCTV. It has been successful for VP. A near flawless round and a flawless round. Both of them got the plan down. So, Raza, what are you going to do different? Not seeing an Echo, for example, is something that worked out quite well against them when Shopify Rebellion was bringing it. We're again going to be seeing the Goyo. We're going to be seeing the smoke. The turbo round might slow down things slightly. Maybe the Fenrir, I mean, could be used to blind them. But in general, you know, Virtus.pro has been really good with getting a Twitch drone in there, realizing what's going on, and taking care of the most key utility before starting to go for the actual execute. So there has to be that little bit of extra here from Raza if they want to find themselves in a good position.
There is still, as you said, opportunity here for Raza. It's not done yet, and obviously the loser of this game will find themselves in the lower bracket. The winner will be our fourth and final team tonight, confirmed.
Oh, is the other one done yet?
Live stage, yeah. As far as I know, the other one was quite quick. So we might be getting another name that anyone with a ticket coming on the weekend will get to potentially see play it out. Prepare your flags, prepare your little banners.
I think all the Europeans would be very pleased to see a Virtus.pro out there together with BDS, of course. Qualified already.
Yeah, I think the easiest way of putting it is you would love to have a team from every single region.
Yes, of course.
STK would love to have Joystick see forward, so he, you know, wishes for it, and it happens. There goes Joystick. There goes the Buck as well. And think about how good and how oppressive Virtus.pro have been, combining the Buck with the Deimos, forcing the players out. It's their quick way of getting clarity over Open, over Office, over Archive.
Yeah, that's mainly it. You just can create so many rotations where you can freely rotate around that complete first floor. It's not a, you know, be-all, end-all for the actual site execute that you want to go for, because Buck isn't necessary for that per se. It's very nice in the preparation to it. You just navigate through the map a lot more easily, especially in that post-plant as well. They have lost that now. They do still have some breaching charges available on Always they can use for a little bit of the same kind of deal. But for now, they need to focus the very first one. And there is someone around on those blue staircases. However, a mute jammer is stopping them from finding out about Basetto being around here. And he's about to go for a bit of a swing. And I'm just wondering, is there going to be flashbang still staying? Is someone going to be face checking this? Do they even know that he's around the corner? Well, there's the flashbang. Is he going to be able to fire? No, this nitro cell comes in before he gets traded out by Dan.
But Basetto was playing that job there to do exactly that, right? He gets rid of Shepard. They lose some of their hard breach. They obviously still have the options here from Always, but they got to hope, you know, that whatever they need is not going to be too many hatches or anything. The plant attempted. Live, do something.
That's quite late, Live.
I don't even think it connected. No, he just took the damage.
Yeah.
Always ran the numbers. Too late of a throw from Live and pulled off the plant in the 3 versus 4. But the rotate round up above. Pasha has a huge job here. 2 of them tentative, slow, one even going above and above and above. To put the pressure down maybe on the hatch itself or get the players. They're on the counter defuse though. Live, he was slow to act and react before, and now at this point they do get him. Dan pops up. There's a big fight on Beepers, but it is one out. They instantly go for it again. Dan controlling dirt and server. At this point, Perez can't get there in time. Virtus.pro pulled the wool over their eyes and put that diffuser on the ground.
Well done by Virtus.pro there. They realized that, hey, the smoke canister isn't instantly coming out. So Always just sticking it, deciding to tank that damage, able to get that diffuser down. Crucial moment out there because it wasn't looking too hot for Virtus.pro in that round. But yet again, they managed to get away with it. They managed to take that round, put themselves up on a 1-5 split. And that should be more than enough for them to lock off this second map and push themselves over as confirmed for the main stage. But Siege is a game of 2 halves. Raza has played this before today. They've not reached the same level, but this could just click at the instant now. And they might just start collecting rounds left, right, and center. And go after Virtus.pro. I love to see, by the way, there where Pasha able to find it down, not going for the confirm, because it doesn't matter at that point. Yep. He needs to put his pressure back onto the actual diffuser, because that's where the last player was coming from.
There's a lot of players
that would confirm first.
Yeah, in comp or ranked could learn something from that.
He's not a threat. I mean, he's a living drone at that point, but he's not going to shoot back.
The difference is the objective. 5-1, Virtus.pro. The last time they played this map, they also went 5-1 on a half. Will this be over across these next 2 attacks? They were solid when they pulled things together, or the next 2 defenses even. They were solid when they pulled things together on their attacks.
Yeah.
and then they played a 5-1 defense against a team like SSG, which has similar sort of appetites for engagement that Razah has.
Which also confirmed themselves, by the way, for
Also
main stage.
confirmed.
So it's one of the big teams that we currently still have left.
But at this point, and these entry engagements have gone away from them. Perez, Vlastry not being able to get themselves to the heights that they've played earlier on throughout this series. And Razah obviously greatly missing that ability. It's a quick break across. They have the Candelas. They might try and find a bit of a smash and grab. You're thinking about how they're going to try and operate on the plant, hoping the Twitch drone has been able to get rid of much utility as possible, but with Shepard on the Echo, the smokes, the Goyo's probably in position. All Virtus.pro have to do is play that game they love to play, juggling time in util.
A lot of information, or utility rather, already taken down by that Twitch drone that SDK used. A lot of the Goyo canister is gone. It's going to be, slowing down things a little bit here, but as the breach comes through, there's going to be about a minute left that they have to try and waste all those smoke canisters. That's going to be another 45 seconds, which leaves them with a 15-second gap where they can get this plan down and really go for a bit of an execute. The one unknown factor might be the yokais, though. They could be the differentiating factor. Actually, no. A grenade or an explosion just went off and took out one of those yokais. So suddenly, there's only one left on the board. That is a huge pick here for the side of Razah. And you see that Basetto is trying to edge himself in. Tries to go for the plant. Smoke again to come through, but Basetto is out.
The problems that they had earlier on where they were trying to do the same sort of executes, and they're angsty, ready, waiting, and willing to start throwing more, and you just need a different bit of pressure, Raza. The second canister, the Candelas come through, and they're
A little time left.
Watching, waiting, another smoke canister. You've got the C4s, that'll be the punctuation. Once you've got through the smokes, the delay and stop, and with Shepard just calling it, they can also do this with an Echo. I don't know what happened to Dan, but SDK does get always, and suddenly it's a 5 versus 3. They're worried about the hatch. Vlastry gets a kill. Basetto is off again, right up into the firing line, and now it is just Shepard left. It has collapsed for Virtus.pro, and what really happened there?
I mean, the thing here is, the entire map got given up from the instant. There was no fight around the first floor or the second floor, which made it so Razah could just really quickly take control of those areas and start working on the side. It was 1 minute 40 left by the time they started wasting smoke canisters. They had about a minute left after the last one been tossed in to try and get that plant down. And of course, the Echo is going to be able to stall for another 14 seconds. But at that point, you need to go for kills. And the crossfires were all there. There was no control of any of the staircases. There was no way for Virtus.pro to start fighting back in. So they just had to rely on trying to be sneaky through the hatch. Hope that no one was watching it. But they were. So a completely collapsed round there for Virtus.pro. A flawless one for Raza. They did everything perfectly. They read the situation. They played with the utility that was against them. And they had time to spare.
5-2 is slightly more appealing than the 5-1, and the longer that Raza can keep Virtus.pro off of map and series point, the more confidence they can play with. Because as soon as you get into that situation, yeah, okay, some teams will turn to diamonds under the pressure, but you don't really want to be the one that has to try and find that out about yourself until you have to try and find that out about yourself. Virtus.pro. Solid hold that suddenly felt a bit. And as Live creeps their way up, they're going to meet barbed wire, so they're not going to be able to get the nuke all the way to the top. Instead, sit, wait, and hope. Maybe a rotate will come around. Similar method here of, well, they're not fighting anything apart from the immediacy of the site. There's no loose players underneath. There's no sort of exploration of the map. Virtus.pro sitting in there, built-up bastions and saying, come and try and knock us down.
And that's kind of an issue because Raza is reading this perfectly. They're realizing, okay, they're just hunkering down. So we have a full 3 minutes to start working on the site. That is a lot of time for the attack to get their setup done, to start isolating angles, to start isolating players. And this Nukdo is the great question. Pasha drops down on top of him, finds the kill into life. A lot of damage done to Joystick, but he's alive, most importantly. And now there's that roamer down below that is going to be an issue later on. Not with a C4, but still with an MP7 and able to fight.
Yeah, it's almost like Pasha heard us and went, oh yeah, I can kill my way.
Well, we can do that too, you know.
We can do that. We can do that. We can roam, and yeah, it's great. They obviously removed Live. Live's job was to try and get into that engagement. He couldn't net a kill out of it. It's the fact that Pasha then went and explored the space. He said, well, it's always going to be a 4 versus 4 on site at this point until people start dying, so maybe I can go off and cause problems. Faceto might not know, but I think Pasha is lurking up the bottom of square. It's Perez. There's Pasha. And he's going to try and find his way up. How well watched is he? Because everybody's dying in the site. Faceto drove himself in. Joystick still on a sliver of health. Shepard tucked in a corner. There goes Joystick once again. Shepard alone against an onslaught from Raza. 5-1 to 5-3 in no tall order.
And this will be a great time to call a tactical timeout, because the fact is, Virtus.pro is just playing so passively now that Raza has all the time in the world to do whatever they need to do. They have no contest whatsoever on trying to get towards that side. They're just isolating the angles. There's no crossfires going on. There's no aggression coming back out from Virtus.pro, bar maybe Pasha jumping over the balustrade there. Now, the thing is, as soon as he did that, you instantly saw the attackers putting up drones around blue stairs. So they would be aware if he was coming up from that angle. And it's indeed, as soon as he did, there's 2 people watching over the balustrade from the top of the square to shut him down as he walked out the door. So Raza had him perfectly read out there, even though they lost the very first fight, still had it under control. And we're now headed towards open area. There's not going to be a tactical timeout. We just need to see more initiative coming out from Virtus.pro, because if they're all going to be locking themselves in again, I mean, what's going to happen? Like, they're going to open up the walls, they're going to start isolating fights, because there's no threat coming out from archives, there's no threat coming out from up top, there's no threat coming out from down below. So what can they do? They can just cut the pie slowly and steadily. Isolate every single pixel, bit by bit, because they have the time to do that.
They did not opt for the conversation. They opt to keep their rotating sights rotated. As I said before, they're a team that loves to keep the momentum feeling like it's moving forward. And, you know, when they did that on the previous map, it was still able to sort of be grown in. Raza, they don't need to double down. They can keep themselves guessing. They're sort of almost doing their first runs of their approaches to the holes that they've seen, right? They've obviously reviewed Virtus.pro. They knew what they wanted to get into, and their responses have been very succinct. And they've always been a decent team at sort of sniffing out opportunities and punishing them. And as he said, because Virtus.pro are giving them a bit of free reign over the map, they have even more time to work out that hold. Now, the long angle on towards Kanto will get opened up. Just pre-firing underneath as well, but Joystick, he's not quite surrounded as of yet, but with everything open and only a prox alarm on the window itself, how long until he finds himself in danger? There goes Pasha. Perez, he's rotating his way up behind the player. They need to obviously get the vertical. He's sort of turned his shoulder towards Joystick, so I'm assuming he's gone and they have the read, yes. Otherwise, that was very cavalier.
So what are you going to do now, Virtus.pro? There's 4 people on site. There's 2 minutes left for Raza Company to do whatever they want. They're going to start opening up with a buck. They're going to make sure that you're not allowed to go back into archives anymore. You're not going to be around in tellers anymore. I mean, there's even barricades out there, so they're going to be aware that you cannot even rotate without them knowing. And they have main stairs under control. It's the only exit you have. I'm not sure if they open up any of the hatches down below. You would assume that they at least have opened up the one that is in connector. No, they've left that soft, so there's still the option to do that. I honestly think that's the best choice for them right now. Send one person downstairs, make him play from the main stairs, or make him play from blue, just so they don't have the free opportunity to open up quad wall and get a plant right behind the kitchen bomb chassis.
It is still a bit of an awkward approach. You can still have a bit of a lockdown here, and making the land is going to be the end of it. The impact, but there is an impact, Dan! Head removed from the stair set, and the breach is a bit awkward, but I mean, it still gets them the kill. They have 2 trades they can try and make happen. There's not a chance to rebuild with Keybers as of yet. They have a single C4 to try and go on the deny and the coverage on the smoke, and yes, there is smokes in the pocket of SDK and the light wall as well, but it's Flashtree that gets always. There's Flashtree with his 3rd! And as Joystick goes down, Shepard once again, all that's left, and once again, not for long, Raza, 3 in a row, and now within touching distance of VP.
And surely a tactical timeout is coming, right? Like, Virtus.pro, come on. What are you doing? And there you have it. 45 seconds for their coach to speak to them. Guys, you need to be more engaged in this game. Like, your first half was so great when you were on the attack. You were taking the initiative. You were doing what you needed to do. And now you're on the defense. Everybody just turned scared. They're turtling. They're all on the side. They're not taking initiative. They're just waiting for the fight to come towards them. But Raza is able to just isolate them one by one and helping each other. It's very frustrating to see a team that's been doing so well on round one, like the first half, they just completely collapse as soon as they go over to the defense themselves, knowing what they did against SSG.
Obviously, you know, it's how well Raza have potentially prepped, and the game that they bought, they got a full pretty much VOD of the Virtus.pro run because they were so successful. On the other side of it, the way that they were stressed was a way to learn mistakes, and it's also the same way that, as I said before, there's similarities between how the teams like to play, though SSG I think has a little bit more of a preference for shields being a driving factor. It is still something where Raza will be able to sort of attribute themselves towards it in Virtus.pro as a team that is sort of famed for being, you know, set up, let them come, let's outplay them, let's outmaneuver them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it makes you predictable, but it makes you rehearsable. And that's that big thing where it feels like Raza, although things are happening late, as they often do.
See, the thing is, you can be, you know, holding back and playing tight without all being on the site. You can extend into open area. It's going to take another minute and a half that they need to actually try and locate and force you out. If you have the hatches opened up, you can just drop down as soon as it gets to hot. There is literally no loss of that. Of course, I mean, they're going to have to use 4 less Excaros pellets because they don't have to open up the hatch, but that is not going to be the difference maker between winning or losing a round. The time wasted will be. That's just something we haven't been seeing from Virtus.pro in any of these rounds that they've played on the defense so far. And even now, I'm still thinking they're all going back towards that basement because they were reinforcing up the hatches. No one's really worrying about sticking around. I believe I see one player around on the main stairs. That's about all the width that they have together with the actual site itself. And you have it. Joystick playing around. He's going down himself as well now. Like, he's not even going to stick around. He's just, again, they're giving up the entire map for free. And Raza's going to be finding out about this in about 10 seconds or so.
Well, we'll see what the expectation is for what the push is going to be. Obviously, you know, you find yourself with the smoke canisters, the echo drone, and one still in pockets. Maybe go for a deploy, the Tubarao, buy themselves potentially time on the hatches, you would assume, and just make sure that they can keep that locked for an extra period of time. But still, the gun game is where things have been slipping away a bit before, and, well, as the quick hatch control happens, there it is. You're still looking at 1:40, right? How long is Pasha going to juggle this hatch? Now, they'll buy themselves a period of time, but all the other hatches are being opened. All the rest of the controls being grabbed. They're still getting rid of the Goyos and everything inside the site itself, and now they have servers as well, or at least starting that approach. There's nothing massively.
It's just going to go down again. Like, there's going to be a minute left. There's going to be 3 smoke canisters. All the Goyo canisters have already been destroyed. So they're just going to be able to play around with those 45 seconds, maybe the Yokai drone. Again, we're in a 5-on-5. Time is slowly ticking down. Still so much available to Raza. Then with these RC Roteros coming in, they're really not able to play in red hallway as well as long as they blow up there.
Well, they have the echo drone getting in close. There's a couple of...
Trishran is hunting it, though.
Yeah, Jaeger ADSs are gone. Whether that was a response to the chance of the Ying, but as some fire damage comes across the blinds, 45 seconds now, and where will things start to maybe fall apart? Before there was a slightly confusing Dan death previously. They've the cover of the smoke, but the smoke is covering back, so nobody's been able to find their route through, and there is the last canister loose. Oh no, one more in pocket. My apologies, but still, 26 seconds. The C4 and the chance to play it. So, at this point, I'm wondering, how will Raza be able to make this happen? The pressure is entirely on them. They've got to drop. They've got to find a fight. At this point, the Echo Drone, reading all of this, can hit the stun on the players as soon as they get close. There it is. There's one. There's almost the second as they swing round, but Dan gets SDK. This Echo Drone will get shot out, but the player is as well. A flawless from Virtus.pro.
Still very much turtling. They gave a lot of space here to Raza. They just weren't able to utilize it as well this time around. They're able to use their utility a little bit better, stall out for a little bit more time, and they find themselves on a very important round now. They have map and series point ahead of them. Just need to lock in a single one more. I still want to see more initiative from Virtus.pro, though. I still think this was too much of a turtle setup.
It's the easiest site to turtle and find success. It's the most sort of built for it, but, you know, in the same breath, that was Raza sort of slowing themselves out. They weren't given an immediate route. Again, I don't know what happened before with Dan's impact self-destruction.
Yeah, it might have been, again, the down into dropping your impact on yourself.
But the idea of that is it gives them that initiative, right? They get that first engagement. Here they got a down and then swung and picked back up. They didn't really have a route through that they took last time, whether that was from the bottom or the main stairs, we don't really know. But what we do know now is that Raza are staring down the barrel of the lower bracket. Virtus.pro, one round separates them from the live stages, continuing on in the upper bracket as they did last year at this point. As I said before, a 2-0 against the Brazilian team in this round.
Yeah.
From a first in a group, could be the repeat.
Looking to repeat history. Potentially with an outcome of a bit of a better placement at the end of the tournament. You know, they still were on the podium, but they want to just have that 2 steps higher. Want to be able to lift that hammer. I mean, these have been players that have been around for ages. They've been around for like major tournaments and Six Invitational so consistently. But to lift the hammer is something they're still looking at. And there's a lot of teams when you start looking at it where it's like, yeah, they're like the best team or one of the best teams in the world, but they've never lifted a hammer. And maybe this year, one of them is going to be able to take that one and take it home. But for Virtus.pro, they still need to win yet another round to progress first. And as the utility is slowly being taken out, their yokai drone will live on the back of that RC. There's going to be some pressure coming now from stock, and I believe they will be aware of it based on the bulletproof camera that's out there.
Well, those Bs, failure to land and launch. Pressure is still on the player, the bulletproof, so he knows he's not immediately going to get shut out in the protection. His FNAT mine behind him, opening up an angle for a player to play from the top of the table, keep some pressure on towards stock. Yeah, it gives them an eye through, but it's an easier one to watch from your side if you're already prepped for it. More pressure, minute 20, and again, a chance to try and crack their way through. And there's that fight I'm talking about. But yeah, as soon as SDK tries to make his way in, he doesn't really truly know if he's being watched or how intently. An Echo drone is making its way closer towards the players here on the approach of Square, and you can see that they're struggling to find that inroad once again.
They're aware of the fact that someone's around in Janitor. There was a drone as well that was watching if someone is on that table or not. They're aware of the fact that there's currently no one on there. And Basetto finding himself close. He's going to try and dig himself in close behind the desk. He'll find a very important kill onto Dan. That is going to start things off. But still, the players that are playing around inside the Janitor, those are the key ones that you need to clear out, because otherwise, that plan's just not going to stick.
I mean, the Echo drone will have to make its route through underneath the castle wall. It's a battle on the windows that always wins out. Flash 3 drops and Perez trades them back in, but Army crawling his way to the plant spot with Perez keeping everything locked down in the cover. Basetto, he's going for the plant itself. Joystick is now the one in the 1 versus 4, but he can't find a route anywhere. 6-5. Not done yet.
And again, the same critique. Virtus.pro's just letting it happen to them. I mean, the Raza company just realizing this as well. Like, they know exactly what Virtus.pro is doing, so they can just cut the angles bit by bit. A great take there by Basetto, by the way. And another great double coming in from Perez. As soon as that happened, they knew, okay, well, the Echo's going to be on the yokai drone because we're planting, so we could just rush into the long desk, clear that one out, and suddenly it's only up to Joystick at that point.
I mean, they're doing a good job there, Virtus.pro. Like, I know you're saying that they need to do rotates or whatever. It's how they play, but also they're stressing Raza to the limit, right? The first engagement, if that goes the other way, then what do Raza do? They fall away, right? You know.
I just mean there's absolutely no pressure from either below or above, no matter what the side is, right? Like, it's always the pressure is on the side itself. There's no fear for Raza that there could be something else out there, an unknown, which just allows them to basically really just hyper-focused on one or two of the angles that they've been assigned to take. And they've been able to be quite successful at it. And of course, like Virtus.pro, they found themselves that one round in the basement because they were very careful with their utility. They used it at the right moments. They were able to, together with that as well, you know, win the gunfights when they needed to. It's just that for the rest of the rounds, Razah's just been so efficient in clearing everything around them that Virtus.pro has set up that they have like a minute to take the gunfights, not having to worry about any of the utility that might still be on the board.
Still one round separates Virtus.pro. Maybe it's as close as one entry kill going into their favor. Again, it's sort of a game that's drifted away from them here on the second half. They were solid in the opener, but yep, the Evil Eye, Shepherd, and he can start sort of playing against it. You said you wanted to see them sort of counter them ability to just set up, and that's one way of doing it.
They already took out 2 Selmas there, so that's, you know, a lot of utility already removed from the board. That is 2 of the openings onto the wall that they now won't have available to them. So it's going to make their life a little bit more easy here when the actual push comes in. And you instantly see a rotation coming out from Razah. They're wanting to go for a bit of a lobby take right now, hoping to open this up. But the grenades there are going to stop Pasha from trying to go for the bandit trick, and that means Kenta now will be opened up. They're going to be able to play this from the window, shut down the entire hallway for any of the players to rotate around there. You instantly see the rotate again coming down from Razah. They've completed that job. Now let's go back to the actual objective itself.
I mean, for the sort of complaints that they might have had about how they've handled utility before, that was perfect.
It was perfect, yes.
The juggling of the grenades onto it, they knew where they needed to be. They're probably only sad they didn't get a kill, but the job was well done. Now, with this, what can they get on the back of it? Vlastry almost gets caught out on the rappel itself. Seto is obviously on the big lobby window rappel with the kit, so he's not really in an immediate situation to get himself in. This is such a dangerous place for SDK to play, and always gets Vlastry, but there's the motion as the opponent goes for the jump out. It's a close swing. They've realized someone's out the building, so let's try and make things happen now before he loops his way back in. Virtus.pro, they tuck themselves in, close, waiting, expecting, but live. Gets on the back of joystick. There's the crossfire, Perez, but Dan pops up, activates. Again, the kit so far away. It has to come down to this. A 3 versus 1 always. Fighting to end it now. Basetto making his way to the site as quickly as he can. They should be able to tuck on towards the B plant and just get it safely behind the chassis itself. But can he try and get one on the cover? One, whilst he can isolate a fight, it's 20 seconds. He can't even find a route in to the building itself. It's either side, red pings, red dots, you know where they are, but look at how they're setting themselves, spreading wider and wider. They impact EMP, the camera by themselves. 10 seconds of surprise, maybe a rotate. More pings will pop up in a second, but all the way on the top of white stairs, all the way back on the main reception, and all the way into OT. Again we go.
And I said it as the 5-1 half came through. It is a game of 2 halves, and even though Virtus.pro have played a magnificent game against Space Station, where they had so many of their rounds on the defense, it just crumbled apart from them. Raza able to deal with the utility perfectly. And whereas Virtus.pro, they brought an adaptation. They brought the Maestro. They stopped the Selmas from opening up the walls, which forced them to, okay, we can no longer go from the side of square. We need to find a plan B. They instantly rotate around. They took lobby. They took Kanto. They started pushing in from that direction and locked out a player, because as soon as that jump out came through, it's like, okay, we have a man advantage now. They're out the building. We're going to flood side. And they successfully did so. And Raza fought themselves back. And again, looking to go, or hopefully wanting to go, to a max OT here on Bank.
2 5-1 halves for the attack. Virtus.pro, I mean, probably feeling pretty confident right now that they at least get 2 more. Raza, you're going to have to see if they can try and push this one over the edge. And obviously, sort of knowing whose map this is, Raza, I assume, picks defense, and I assume regret it now.
Yeah, they might regret it indeed with the amount of attacking wins that we've had to go through, and maybe Virtus.pro is going to have a little bit of a breather now, being like, okay, we should have this. We've been super well onto the attack so far. And I mean, like, you know, the last couple of rounds of defense, they started to get more and more into it, being able to stall Raza and stress them to the limits more. So maybe there's something on that second round as well. But it's been a while since they've been here. It's been 6 rounds, 6 long rounds since they've been here. So who knows what is going to be meeting them on the other side.
They find their way back towards open. The only site they won on the previous half, and they only attempted it once. So it's also maybe a little bit of an unknown entity, at least more so than Lockers, which they attempted 3 times, and CEO, which they tried to make land twice. It gives them a bit more to work with, and as you said, the confidence built up on being able to come back from a 5-1 down situation into this. Virtus.pro, they're on the other side of that. Everything looked like it was ready to go on and be done with their evening and start preparing for the next games, but instead now it's maybe back to the drawing board, maybe even back to map 3.
Yeah, the map 3 could be on the board here for Chalet. I think that the Trickster actually succeeded in taking out the Mute Gemmer there that Basetto was trying to buddy block with his life. Of course, would help him to hold on to Janitor a bit longer, but I think it's fallen now. Leaving only life up here on the hallway. Another player, Flash Tree, inside of the elevator. Going to try and provide him at least some support if there is a push coming down from the lobby. The rotates are already starting to come through as well. Flash Tree dropped. Meaning life alone on top. Player just basically strafing by Perez. Get away with his life there. Flash Tree with the very first kill to Pasha. That's huge.
That's the Twitch gone and unanswered for as well. Obviously, the pressure's still coming across the top. They've got to keep moving. But now, on a site where a lot of it ends up boiling into a trade game, they have a body disadvantage. Will they try and sit and stop longer than they probably should? Will they get the read on the position of the players? They're trying to clear out Tellers, trying to clear out the archive side, which was so bitterly fought for. And live, sitting, waiting patiently as 2 impacts and 2 keepers to try and play with here, but he's hoping he's gone undroned, and he has! Pops up, drops joystick, gets out of there. There's a bit of a grenade that's a bit close to the fight here of Basetto, who's already quite injured. There's always getting one through the open breach. Perez is gone. There's a second. Dan levels us right back up, 3 apiece, but not a lot of time here for them to try and formulate a landing. Shepard round on the back, still going for the clear, the power position, a rotate up round blue. It's pinged though. They're aware. They're watching and waiting. There needs to be the stop on the plot. There is. The kid is cold. They can't get to it in time. Raza from 5-1 to 7-6.
And now we'll be headed over towards their attack to try and seal the deal and push us to a map number 3. Raza Company were down almost in the dirt. They were quite literally 2 rounds away from being sent to the lower bracket. But they've been able to deal with Virtus.pro's game perfectly, who are now forced to go back towards the fence, towards lockers, to see if they can bring this to a 7-7, take another shot at their attacks. But the momentum is definitely on Raza's side.
1 round separates us from a technical best of 1 for a chance to get to the live stage and confirm that today. Virtus.pro, we've said it enough, a team with a wealth of experience. Raza, a team hungry for glory of their own. And the only team that came into this tournament when none of the players had a previous experience at Six Invitational. LCQs to here, to maybe even beyond. They just need to stick 1 more to keep the dreams alive for now. And, well, Joystick, he's just caught sprinting in the middle of open. Fired from the office. And what a gift that is to this opening round for Razako.
Dan did the exact same thing in one of the earlier rounds. I think it was round number 3 when it was STK rotating around there. Themselves caught off. STK now joining as well, opening up the barricade. But they're 4 kills away from pushing us to Chalet. A map number 3, where everything is reset, but the momentum definitely would be in Raza Company's favor. It's Virtus.pro, they're letting it slip. Dan trying to chase up that blue stairs. He needs to go big. He's already been going big throughout this game. But his team is starting to slip. It's starting to slip away from them. And where we thought that Raza, they might have been affected by fatigue in the very first half, that just all seems to be gone right now.
Hey, we're resting. Resting and ready to pounce. For this bank, there's the break and the breach on towards the hatches. The pressure played against the game that's gonna find itself cooking. You still have a similar sort of setup here, so they know what they've come to sort of expect and know how they can shut it down. It's been lost and won once, though. They didn't dedicate themselves to trying it as much as Raza did on their defense, so there's still a 50-50 swing here for Virtus.pro. And as the destruction comes through, on towards the Goyo canisters, as the slight change of rotate can set themselves up and in for the pressure. You assume the ADS are more than locked. The Bees will catch some of the players on the connection. It gives you a bit of a game away, but you kind of know the place that they're playing in anyway. It's an irritants, but it's not an end of the world. Shepard, he's off droning, collecting intel, zooming around, and it will drift right on by and actually be able to get himself all the way back into a perfect place. And Habana sees a struggling Twitch drone and executes it. 30 seconds. Now, flashes on. The chance at a plant. There's still a canister in the pocket, and there's one locked off. SDK, but Flashtree gets past it. But it's a post-plant! The second too late, and Perez again! Triple kill, burning his way through for 4! We are going to map 3 hap!
Virtus.pro, they had all the cards in their hands after that very first half. And it looked like Raza Company was out of it. That fatigue had struck. But indeed, we're just resting. We're just charging to go all the way to Chalet right now. Oh my! What is awaiting Virtus.pro there?
Well, let's not waste any time. It's late at night, to a quick break before we're back.
Ouais, Chalet, Chalet, ouais, Chalet, ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent, les entends parler et ils m'édisent, j'arrête que pour rafler la mise, petit pas sur la piste, et le succès je l'ai pisté, disent que la place du premier, fais monter la côté, sur moi tu mises gros, tu connais déjà l'équipe, ça criera au complot, je prends le double, on est quitté, je fais la magie des chiffres. La somme je la triple, la concurrence la dribble et le stade est en délire, ça fait choquer, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché, gauche droite esquive les rageux, coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu, dans l'action ouais je me sens en feu, je suis on fire, je fais la différence au compteur, money time ça shoot sur le buzzer, je suis on fire, choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché, j'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée, j'espère que t'es accroché.
There are many great players who are not champions, who have never lifted the hammer, who might never lift the hammer, and it's not because they aren't good enough, they just might not put in what it requires to really get there, because they are the goods and not the greats.
There is not 1 hour of the day where your mind can be off siege. You have to sacrifice everything to win.
If you were to win any event and call it quits, it would probably be the Six Invitational.
Chegar no topo uma vez, então assim foi um momento de muita emoção.
The Invitational is, the kind of the final checkpoint, the final test, and it meant the world to me.
History will be be made here because for the first time on home soil, a Brazilian team will win a world championship.
The only thing that matters is the 4 guys next to you, your coach, and the screen in front of you.
No one ever really just goes and wins. You have to go through the pain, the hardships.
Phase are exploding!
You have to go all in, that's it.
Quem perdeu foi nós tudo ali. E a gente que vai virar isso aqui agora.
Você tem que confiar muito no seu time.
Não vamos desistir, não vamos desistir.
Baixa demais, porra!
When you truly want to become the best, you truly have to believe that you are, because you have to play it 100%.
Players' feedback is everywhere on Siege, from reports, survey analysis, meetings, playtests, workshops, studies, watching streams and videos, designing comms, reading thousands of comments a week, answering DMs. It's insane. So players do have a fancy seat at the table, no question. They just have different opinions. Sometimes it's a little puzzling, but that's all good. The Siege highly critical player base is a driving force.
I'm listening, and we're all taking in so much of your positives and your concerns and trying to make the game just a better place for everyone.
You know, I'm a player myself, so I also have my own opinions, but I also think it's nice to have a good, well-rounded opinion of the sentiments that come out of the community, and it really helps me better my feedback. So when I'm in play sessions for balancing or new operators, I can not only give my own personal feedback, but try my best to bring the community into that play session.
These players are the best players basically in the game right now.
So having their feedback introduced into our decision making, I think it's really crucial to have. So it's definitely why this workshop is so important.
The workshop is important for me because I like to see kind of the future that the devs want to bring the game to and how we can help bring that into a good space for everyone.
I love the workshops because I think it gives you a real opportunity to see why things are being done, kind of what the thought process was, the steps behind things. I just love seeing other people have passion for the same game.
We play the game 24/7, practice and understand what can be a little bit too strong or maybe a little bit too weak, so being able to help is a massive thing.
I got to give it to these guys. The dev team, you guys have really been hitting it, man. The new operators they bring in that just find different ways to...
And that is how we will be headed towards a map number 3. Virtus.pro, they had a perfect start, finding themselves on a 1-5 scoreline, but not able to actually transfer that into a map victory. And thus, we find ourselves going towards Chalet. The frustrations, they must be running high at some point. Things were just not connecting. Raza company suddenly, out of nowhere, we're finding the perfect solutions to the questions that were being imposed on them by Virtus.pro. As they push it towards overtime, they find themselves with yet another victory here today on Bang. And now a map away from making it to the top 6 and securing themselves a main stage play. Just walking out and you saw the players that were having a nice conversation with each other. Virtus.pro was mostly discussing what went wrong, what do we need to improve on. Because Raza company was just super hyped about the fact that they just won their map number 2.
Well, I mean, I was taking a break and a breather, getting some cold air because Hap, my boy, my chum, you're here on your first day and I think you're about to feel why it's going to go on. I mean, the fact that the MVP, Dan, was on the team that could not pull it together. 2-5-1 attacking halves. This late? This hour?
At this hour of the day?
This hour? But it does set things up. Imagine, for a second, the list of teams, the setup of what we potentially have making its way through on towards the biggest possible Rainbow Six stage, SI 2025. Now, spoiler alert, you haven't seen the other games, but the confirmed teams so far, BDS, one of the strongest going teams at the minute. Europe, top dogs, SSG, NA, exciting upstart prospects that have been building and better and better and better. proving themselves time and time again. Furia, again.
Do they need any introduction?
Do they need any introduction to a tournament that they have carried the trophy and potentially the lowest possible seed into this tournament of 5 players that have never even played at Six Invitational before, and they could be, with this game, confirming themselves top 6 on the live stage. Imagine for a second, you are that team at your first SI, no experience on that team outside of your coach GDN, who has been here before. How electric that would be to be the 4th team. And against you, who else but Virtus.pro. 5 of the biggest names, individuals to have done it and not won it, here to try and push themselves further along. The pressure on this map. Chalet, an aggressive map. It's explosive. It'll cut you in half if you give it no chance and opportunities. Will this be a magical moment where we start to have one of them traditional SI storylines come through of greats and almost greats? Or will Virtus.pro put this one to bed, send themselves through, and leave us sort of hanging and waiting to see what Razah do in the lower bracket?
That's going to be that big question. And of course, Virtus.pro, I think all the pressure is going to be on them. They are one of those mainstay teams, one of those teams that is just always around on the live stages of these Six Invitationals. Whereas Razah, you mentioned it, coming in with probably the lowest seed you can imagine, suddenly finding themselves a map away from making it to the top 6. I mean, probably no one would have expected that they would have gotten this far.
No!
I know that Tim is saying, like, Razah, they have a good game in them. He's going to be absolutely unbearable if they win this one.
Well, we need to scroll back through the messages and see how long he's been saying it for.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Tim says that about any team. He's like, I've always been supporting them.
Especially Brazilian teams.
I've always been supporting Brazilian teams. But
yeah,
he's got to prove it. Pull out the receipts, Tim. I question that. And at the same time, I mean, it's just a great storyline, right? It's just something so sort of magical. I'm trying to think the last time we had a team that was such a sort of group of untested upstarts. And it's hard to sort of pull the numbers. Last time, I think the 4 that got through to that similar position was, you know, FaZe, DZ, Virtus.pro being one of them, and Sonics. It's exciting.
It is definitely exciting to see one of the like lesser known teams or like the lesser experienced teams make it this far into a tournament. They're now finding themselves a potential 7 rounds away from getting into that main stage. We are getting in the way. This snowy chalet looks a bit like Boston right now. Just a lot of snow out there. This is the French Alps. It is not America that we're headed towards. Yes, I'm sorry to break it to you. Look at that social vote. That suddenly flipped. 48-52.
It is very snowy here. If you are coming towards the tournament, make sure that you wrap up warm.
Yes,
I want to get
exactly.
chilly. I feel a bit guilty, actually, because earlier I sent Leo, lovely Leo, Alfama, out for an errand to get me something from the shop. And I kept it very wide. It was for a fizzy drink. And he said, what do you want? I said, anything but this. He's like, I don't like it. It makes me have headaches.
And he brought that.
And that is the one thing he got. And he went out in the snow. And he obviously a mixed message. But I still love Leo.
Yeah.
Accidents happen. You'll just have to wait later. But, hey, Hap. You ready for another OT?
Ooh, am I ready for another OT? I mean, you know, it's just my first day here, so I'm still full of energy to go through all this.
This is like, okay, so
I have it at like a 5-day marathon under my legs.
I have been casting with Jake Xenox throughout this week.
You've done most rounds.
And now with this on, and obviously added on, I think I'm definitely holding the trophy for most rounds cast so far, probably by a bit of a margin.
You know, I was always going to say, it's almost like I'm the problem. Usually we have like, you know, middle of the pack kind of rounds.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm here now. I mean, we've got quite a bunch of OTs already, so it's definitely not me. It's just something else shifted in the universe.
There's an ace.
I
blame them for some reason.
Sure.
Right. Virtus.pro starting here on their attack on Chalet. It is all down this best of one last time. The stakes, if you missed my very long and epic build up into this, winner confirms himself top 6 and live stage. Loser falls to the lower bracket and will be playing, I believe, tomorrow in the afternoon, off the top of my head, based on the results of the game that happened just before. So, we'll see how that decides to shape itself off. At this point, what are they going to learn? Because obviously, Virtus.pro, they've just come off the back of a lot of defensive losses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different map, though, that we're going towards. Bank is very big. There's multiple different ways to go about it. Chalet is almost a bit more, like, it's smaller. It is more narrow, so you're going to be able to lean into those gunfights a little bit more. We also see more width coming out from Virtus.pro. Something I have been begging about in the last 8 rounds or so. Like, I just wanted to see them not all 5 on the site. And guess what? They're not all 5 on the site. Wonderful to see. But let's find out how much success that will actually bring them in these next couple rounds. Now, VP, of course, have played Chalet over this tournament twice so far. It was a 2-7 loss against SSG and a 7-4 victory against Oxygen. That was in the group stages, which this is the first playoffs game that they're playing right now. But there is that knowledge already of their game.
Well, the flip side of that is that Raza, they have also played it twice and won both of them, 7-3 and 7-4. And, well, they were great games, really, if you're looking at how it goes, but it's starting to go here. There's the first. Dan gets Perez. The blinds come through live. Maybe trying to stick some of the support, but it's the run-out swing, and there's a trade, but perfect place there for Dan to be. Gets his second of the round, drops the kit, and all of that utility, the Candelas being thrown, the bees, wasted because they had to recollect it. That gets open, that gets shut right down.
Oh, just 2.
And 2 locks in, leaving just Besetto alone. A minute 30, gets a trade out of it, but that is probably not the opener that they wanted. Credit to Dan. The perfect timed run out
for sure.
to get the player swinging back.
And he took the angle out of the entire attack just instantly because everything that was thrown in, you just mentioned it, it's all leading up to a synchronized push. If you then go in and take out one, keep occupied another, that's another angle of the attack that's just not quite connecting at that moment in time. Probably also didn't expect the double frostmat to be around on the bathroom window, which of course caused one of the other casualties to go through. Virtus.pro, they start off with a very convincing defensive win. Nothing to be quite happy with that, considering how the previous map went. Scopus.
Scopus?
My first Scopus of the tournament.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of your first
Yeah,
of the tournament, to be fair.
I know, but I mean, we've seen quite a lot of Sense already and Ace.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I have not watched everybody's games. I have not watched every single round of Siege. I've been casting for a lot of it, so I've not been able to see the other side. I am still going to say it. I have seen the best Scopus play this tournament.
Okay.
It netted in not a round win, but it was on Cafe. I can't remember who it was. They hid behind the Scopus. I think it was a Falcons player, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
They hid behind the Scopus, swung out, and got like a triple kill. And then somebody jumped out of a window, gave away the advantage, and they lost the round. But still,
I mean, the play was there.
The play was there.
It doesn't discredit it.
It might be. I didn't remember who it was, but it was great. I love Scopus. You know, it gives you the chance to pull back. Dan, they can obviously draw as much attention to this, and then if they feel under pressure and have a moment, they can swap towards the other shell and get themselves back towards it. Think about the site. Think about the position. He's sort of setting himself up. He's about to maybe make friends with Besetto.
Friends is a strong word.
Yeah, well, who knows what people like out of their friends.
Grenades being tossed in. It's going to be opening up the window for Besetto. And oh, no, didn't open up the window. It's just going to have to start pushing through. It was actually to take care of the Frostmats. Perez will find Dan. Another kill coming in on the back of it. STK is going to find a double from the window. A 5v2 situation just within the flash of a pan to come through. And Joystick and Shepard, the last two remaining, while they're finding themselves closely around the site, looking if they can find anything on the outside, but not the case as of yet. In a minute 40, there's just so much time. There's no worry in the world here for Razah Company, and where they might have been too aggressive against Shopify Rebellion in these kind of situations, they've slowed it down instantly. They're not continuing their push right away. They're resetting themselves.
A minute 30. They have all the time in the world. And also, still some decent pockets of utility. Obviously, the Blitz is still a couple of charges and at least a smoke throwable, a flash, and then the call as well. Really everything you'd want to shut this engagement down. Joystick forced further and further as he feels the breath down his neck. And the breach will start to come through on towards the wall itself. They have the vertical. They're trying to just get the options and the angles on towards it. And you can see that Virtus.pro, the remaining players, are seeing if they can lean in somewhere and get a kill and a take. The Blitz makes their presence known, but it's a crossfire from every which way. But where? Flawless round. Raza. Strong response.
Of Nuclear, what they said, but it was
feels intense.
It feels intense.
Feels intense.
I mean, rightfully so. That's like a flawless round to come through. We've had quite a lot of flawless rounds already throughout this entire game. It feels like it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flawless rounds. Make that 6 in total, I believe, that they've gone that we've had over both sides. So sometimes when these rounds are won, they're just so convincing. And Raza just completely overwhelmed them there. Instantly taking care of the Scopels that was playing around inside the library. Flashbangs the Blitz together with the Finka to go in right afterwards. And they were able to basically double that down on the opposite side of the map. The 2-minute advantage is kind of hard to lose that one already.
Now, we don't find ourselves in the basement because, well, Virtus.pro, for lack of a better way of putting it, hates it. They still play it, but for
when they have to.
3 attacks and 2 defenses, they have won none on the basement side. It's really fallen away from them here. As Kitchen and Dining, though, it's one of their sort of better attackings, 100% on the single bar gaming room they've played, but it shows the adaptation, right? They've obviously played the map twice. They've only really played that site on their defense once, but they won it. So why keep trying to make something broke? Paul, it shows the adaptation of a team as they go and grow through a tournament. At the same time, if you look at the side of Raza Company for, 2 attacks on towards Master Bedroom and 3 attacks on towards Bar and Gaming, they have won none of those. So if we're going by statistics, they might lose this one as well. And suddenly Virtus.pro has 2 sites that they can play respectfully. Here is Pasha getting that opener. Flashtree is gone. And this might be the start of statistics giving us the read-through. They tried to get quite aggressive by the looks of it. Opening 40 seconds. They're putting pressure on the side of Kitchen directly towards the connector to the site. Well, it's obviously gone the way it has.
Raz trying to clear out over the top floor. Has a drone that is giving him some information as he pushes through. He's going to bring out his own drone as well. There is a player inside the library that is going to be a worry. There's going to be some of those magnets that are protecting the shield that is on the blue staircase. Can be used for someone to try and support Dan. He's still around on that library. He's hunting down these drones for now. And you see Joystick coming up to start sending some bullets right through the wall. Hits Perez for some of them. But Dan himself taking small amounts of damage as well.
Going to force the control of this position.
Oh, there's 3 of them.
Loads of ADSs.
There's 2 magnets as well. I really wanted to keep a hold of this shield.
They know how important this position is. And to be fair, I mean, Raza's attacking directly into it. The shield does go down. Not sure if one of those was just a bit close, if they had enough to overwhelm it, but they don't really with what's in the pockets there. Only 1 thrown either side with some bees popped into position. Dan being droned out, but he hasn't been forced off as of yet. He's playing that narrow angle and
1 HP.
1 HP. Basetto massively hurt. There's the cross, and there's suddenly 2. Basetto, an SDK, but always steps up, drops right back down. 2nd kill from the sort of stairs position. There's a reveal of the library control. 50 seconds, though, and they have time to try and reformula.
It does keep ticking, though. It definitely doesn't stop. And the 3 members of Virtus.pro finding themselves in pretty decent positions out here. Shepard especially can see if they start dropping through. They block off the side of the pantry. However, the bees are stopping Shepard's current position, forcing him to rotate around. They're trying to get a vertical angle on him, but just miss his feet by a couple of inches. And now Basetto also 1 HP. He's carrying that kit. Literally anything touches him, he is dead. He needs to be very sure of when he's going to be pushing in. And this smoke just doesn't do the job, but Perez does.
10 seconds and a swing round, but it's traded back out. Now Pasha, he's able to get 1. Gifted and no kit. Perez, he's technically in a 1 versus 1. He doesn't have the time to get the player off. He's just got to stick it, and Pasha should be able to sweep this up. They pull themselves off. Pasha even looked a little frustrated he couldn't get the kills, but I mean,
for a second, it's like you go for the wrong guy, Pasha. Like, you're going to give him the opportunity to get the plan down, but no. You went off.
As
there we have it.
Close as you like, but still, records persist. Raza have not been able to win an attack on that site. The 4 times they've played it now.
I mean, at some point, we're going to be straying away from these statistics, because otherwise we just wouldn't have to play the map anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's like simulating in other games,
then it's just a simulation, and then, you know, you're gone. You're done.
I mean, Pasha's positioning to stop that is absolutely perfect. They were worried for time, but instead of hopping out the window and going around on the other side and trusting the cover from behind them, they sort of hit the hatch. They believed they were safe. It was perfect movement from Pasha to get that in. But I know I've said a lot in the showdown, such razor-thin margins of success and failure.
It is, and it has been throughout a lot of these rounds as well. Again, Virtus.pro, they could have already locked it off. It could have also been a 2-0 if you know, some of these rounds of the first map went the other way. An 8-6 and an 8-6. It's definitely a close game that we've been having so far. And you know, with how things are currently going, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going for another overtime. You know, like, it might not be 45 rounds, but 43 is definitely doable here. Or 42.
42, 43.
Yeah, 43, 42.
I mean, it's just traded, right? And as you said, both these teams have the experience. And you can see that there's still such intensity in their play. It isn't the sharpest it's been across the tournament. Of course it's not. But it's so late on in the day for both these teams, regardless of whether they played a series or not. And there's also more pressure on this game in a lot of ways than either of them experienced. One of them got first, the other one was battling for first, got second. And now they're having to do the do-or-die game, but with the same sort of tired eyes stayed on as it was before. Virtus.pro not able to really get anything. They sort of saw it coming from a mile off and just prepared for it.
And it's the mirror window, right? It's just looking through. Knows exactly what's going to happen. A beautiful shot from Always. Gonna pop the window for a second, but actually got exploded from down below. Gonna be knowing of the fact that the castle barricade's out. They're going to try and remove it. First checking with a concussion, but you see there's nothing there. Now the opening's there. That's kind of putting Always in a sticky situation. Not going to be able to really rotate out anymore because the big window could be watched.
Underneath, you do have SDK trying to hold on to the space itself, and obviously the Ash lost their life to try and get rid of the mirror window, which they did. But is it a trade that's going to come through with a netted sort of positive result? In fact, SDK got rid of the cross mats from underneath. They don't quite have the same swing capabilities, but if they hear that and react to it, well, they can't. There is Dan getting one more for his tally. Live gets the kill. Flastry suffers on the swing in and gets dropped, and now... well, they just knew everything that was happening on this hold. The calls come through. SDK is alone, and statistics. They could not win on the other side, and here, probably not going to win either. Suddenly, 2.
No HP, though.
No HP, no kit, 40 seconds, and goo mines in pocket as well, and one of those will be, I think, the end of the round.
Yeah, one of them will be enough to shut down SDK. They don't even need to take the fight. They just need to basically flood everything with goo mines instead. Dan will find the kill, however. Virtus.pro find themselves 3-1 up here on their defense. Basically, complete opposite from what we've seen on their defensive half on the previous map. And looking to keep this up. The timeout will be called by Raza Company. And you can see that the players are kind of like a little bit being like they're kind of wondering like, okay, what are we doing wrong? Like, what do we need to do better? So a perfect time to call that timeout. To see what you can still salvage from this half. I mean, if they manage to get 2 or 3 rounds in total on this half, I think with 2 already, Raza's going to be quite happy, considering how well their attacks have been going throughout this event. If they manage to get 3, even better. They've done whatever they can to salvage the rest of this half, and then it really is coming down to just their own defensive gameplay.
Well, that's the sort of rub of it, because currently, the defensive statistic on this map is 88% defensive win. And that's obviously, it's the short pool of data against a couple of teams during this phase, but it's a huge number. And on the flip side, the attack rate, 36% from the side of Virtus.pro. They're having their timeout now because they want to try and get themselves a second. I think that is their sort of win con, but if they can put a bit more pressure onto it. If they can try and shut down Virtus.pro, put them on the back foot,
yeah,
who knows how the series can escalate. 3-1. The conversation is done. Will this fuse get stuck? There has been fuse play at this tournament, but I haven't been able to cast it yet.
I haven't either.
Yeah, well...
Just stating obvious things. I mean, one thing's for sure, and that's that the rounds of this series are slowly starting to run out. There's no more new map that you can go to. It is quite literally just this Chalet that is left. Virtus.pro currently finding themselves in a better position, having themselves with those 3.
Well, no fuse.
No fuse.
Last 3 changed off.
Write an angry letter that he disappointed you.
How deep?
Oh, that sticks out in the end.
Ooh, it sticks out, but you wouldn't like...
You will not catch it if you're just doing a quick glance.
Yeah, which they often do. They try and zoom those around. And also think about underneath as well, right? Usually playing up through the soft ground. In this situation, they're not going to be there because that is the site. But it's a nice little hole to hide that in. And, well, that was a false start. That's right, you didn't need that one. That one was rubbish.
2 anyway.
Yeah, you wanted the second one up there. The first one becomes the new second one in the pocket. No procs. That's what they're checking for there on the swing. And they're able to get... the camera. You can't drive too far away live.
You gotta keep the connection running, you know? Checking to see if there's anything else above on the beams. Not quite yet. There's also no one kind of running at it. And then, hey, suddenly there's a Dan that appears in Ivy. Managed to shut down that Bravo drone. So the second one being sent in the clutch. Seeing if they can get anything else. Now, there is going to be a bulletproof that will be hacked just as the Bravo drone gets taken out. But that one did succeed. You saw it on the screen. They're going to have that one in control, but it's pretty instantly taken out already.
I mean, it's a great bit of intel to get rid of, though, right? It's,
yes,
you know, you can get the camera on the other side. It's an awkward one to try and get yourself into position to get rid of. And now here, the wall isn't going to be the biggest danger. They have the pings on the player, and suddenly Joystick executed there, executing on the side itself over the top. SDK and Perez are able to find one apiece, but look at what's been taken out of each team. The Ying's gone. That drive on the front gone. The Flores, you assume, has done most of the work before they got themselves into the engagement and exchanged the Tubber out to try and slow down the chance on a breach, potentially, which isn't really going to affect the Maverick too much. But it's not really the fight that they want. There's still players up top. They're trying to harvest and harness their way around. One on the half wall on Piano. It's Dan. Waiting, has some support he can fall back to. There's no pressure on the bathroom window as of yet, and he has that castle to buy himself some safety. But this, they're trying to draw some attention as Paceto rotates his way underneath. I think he wants to try and come up Fireplace and maybe get themselves in. No, he's going back towards the windows on the opposite end. It's a risk, but they get Dan live. Keeps on pushing through the cover of the smoke, and now leaves them with some vertical control, hoping they can find a plant. Paceto gets Shepherd. And the site is currently theirs. And, well, there's a retake from Always, but there's no blood behind it. 3-2.
Read it perfectly out there, able to shut it down. And suddenly, an explosion all over the map coming through from the side of Razah Company, finding themselves with the advantage they were looking for. And the second round, most importantly, they've been looking for that one, knowing how good their defense can be on this map, Chalet. And them having secured a second round now could just as well mean that this game can slowly but steadily start to go their way. As Virtus.pro looking now to find themselves a fourth. Their attacks haven't been great here. A lot of pressure riding on them. Everybody believed they would be able to, well, at least make this a 2-0. Might have been long rounds, or it might have been like, you know, a close scoreline, but everybody would have expected them to take this in a 2-0 fashion. Instead, they are finding themselves in a 1-1, 2-3 scoreline where everything can still happen. A lot of uncertainty because of how back and forth these teams have been.
If they can get themselves an even half Raza, oh, it feels doable. But this is a site that has proved impossible.
I said it, though. At some point, statistics
are
going to be broken.
Some teams have come into this tournament not losing a map for an entire year.
And lose it
and then they lose it the first time they play it. You know, you never really know when you find that eureka moment. Here, Another heavy utility game. Look at the mute jammer. That's the adaptation because of what they lost last time. And a man is happy to be on a cam this time round. There's the discs going up towards the control of the shield, which they're not going to sit around for, actually. Instead of posturing pretty heavily around Ivy and around the top of the stairs, they're going to pull back, hand it over. They're worried about this, the approach coming across from Flastry. Remember last time, he lost his life very early in this position.
One's coming around as well. Some information being fed. I mean, they know Den is going to be on top here off the mezzanines. Is there anything they can really do about it, though? Currently, the answer is going to be no. They need to have better positioning to do so. Drone stuck there by Mute Gemmer. Not going to be able to get anything taken care of either. Oh, look at that. Another drone being stuck by Mute Gemmer. Oops. It's a bit unfortunate when that happens. The utility being denied in that manner. With a minute 30 on the clock. Not a lot that they've accomplished so far on the side of Raza Company. Just going to go for the jump in. I mean, there's no one right behind the shield. They can just swing in one and go for the second. No! Shut down. And it's actually two for the price of one. Three for the price of one as Virtus.pro find themselves in the big advantage here.
A 2 versus 3, though, and they're trying to put the fight back up towards Dan, but he is just proving so problematic. There goes the hop-in player from Library. Dan still holding in the same position he had at the start of the round, and he's going to end it there as well. Dan, once again in this series, in this tournament, proves why he is one of the biggest talisman players Siege has had on the main stage. But it's not done yet. 4-2, and they have that trickier half ahead of them.
There's only a potential of 10 more rounds that can be played in this series.
It's got to end.
All the way to overtime. It's got to end.
It's got to end at some point.
There's no maximum OT here. So, Virtus.pro, you know, with that 4th round on the board, definitely giving themselves a big favor here. As we go over towards the basement, Raza Company deciding to start it off there. And are they going to be able to do what they did last time around? Just reverse it. Basically show that, you know, what we saw in that first half, that's just whatever it is. It's time for us to speed things up now and to show that we are here to play as well.
We've had big comebacks in just the previous map. We've had many records made and broken at this event. Some you're happy with, some you're not.
Some you're not, yeah.
Raza, they can start off on the right foot and tie themselves up and try and break some new ground here for the individual players. Virtus.pro, they want to get that back-to-back confirmation of the main stage after what happened to them after that long journey before it, and the return. Being able to lift a hammer, the dream that has always escaped them.
It's always the dream of any Rainbow Six player, especially if you're active in the competitive scene. Like, that hammer, that is just like the end goal. Everybody wants to reach it. Everybody wants to lift it. And Virtus.pro, I mean, they've gotten close so many times before. Is it finally their time to lift it? Well, first they have to dispatch Raza. There's Flasty almost being taken out by the grenade there, but just escaping at the last possible second.
Well, the track's going to come through, and the castle isn't out of the woods yet because he knows he's being surrounded, and it's a fight through soft. The reveal of the Deimos, but Deimos, well, is revealed on a window. It's not the hardest sort of fire back. There's not the huge amount of wiggle room in the delay. There goes the first STK. Gone. Playing well on this map, but he's not quite able to get himself off to the right foot here. A minute 30, and well, Perez playing on the door of a drone that's checking and rechecking, and not going to swing for the pressure just yet. Moves away as the drone catches, and you can see they're just sort of giving that top ground a lot of space. I mean, think about where the site is and what they want to get to here, and where the fight is taking place here.
It's taking place all over the map. We do see another track to come through live. Going around on the blue stairs. They know exactly where he is. Track has been ended as well. There's no point giving away your own information as well. Like, he's not going to be moving from there, but the Deimos instead, he's going to be quite mobile, quite trying to get himself into a different position. And Flastry, who escaped with just a millisecond to go for that grenade, himself active around the bar, trying to hold on for his life. and hold them to that first floor as best he can.
Sentry all the way back, and the removal of the shield on the swing will mean Paseto's position's a bit trickier to play, but 40 seconds. They can juggle against the hard red wall with Tubarão canisters. There's a quick double breach. There's Shepard using the pocket impact on the side, but there's the freeze. And that'll chill things out for if he wants to the rest of the round, unless some pressure forces him off this angle. He's ready to rip and go again in just a second, but always finally gets the end of Flash Tree, but there's 20 seconds to make this land here. They've picked themselves up, rotated around towards blue. There's the Capitao bolt that'll force the player further and further away. He's on such a narrow angle, and yet somehow fights his way out of it. Hops up 7 seconds, but the plan is being confirmed. 3 versus 3, dropped and planted. With only Perez still standing, he cannot find a route round, and Virtus.pro, they stretch their lead a little bit further.
Talking about letting things come close. That round, the time is just continuing to tick down and down and down. They just had to go for it at some point. It was a great incendiary bolt that was being shut out, forcing one of those players out of position, allowing them to dig in deep right behind the wine cellar to get that plant down. They find themselves in 2-5. 2 rounds away from secure themselves to top 6. But we've seen how this has gone in the previous map. Suddenly Raza Company stepped up, completely different kind of team that they were facing, and one that couldn't be dealing with. And that change could still come through. It's 2-5, it's still plenty of time, it's plenty of opportunity for Raza to get back into it. Done it once before. It's going to stop them from doing it again. And the answer to that has to be Virtus.pro, because otherwise they're going to be going to the low bracket tomorrow to again play a late game.
It wasn't insurmountable last time we were in 5-2.
Yeah.
It's always the knowledge that Raza can run with, that they've done this before. But again, you ask and pose the questions. How late can they do it? How long can they do it? And can Virtus.pro find that last bit, those last 2 rounds, to push this game, this series to bed, and probably themselves as well. 2 minutes, 30 as we tick, ever so close towards the first engagement. And Perez is still in this sort of power position here, watching down towards it. But nobody's immediately entering on towards Trophy yet. However, as a bit of damage is done here, Flastry's the one that sort of baits some of the utility. Again, you know, the site on the opposite end of the map, they're really refusing to give up ground because, well, they keep being offered new bits of utility to take out.
2 minutes left on the clock. Opening still being made over towards that top floor. There's still a long way they need to go, all the way towards bar. Like, sure, you want to get control of bedroom, but that's only because then you can start putting pressure onto mezzanine. And that's only because you can then start putting up pressure towards the library. And as soon as you have that, well, that's when the side is finally going to be pressured. But with the amount of time that's left and with the speed that Virtus.pro is currently moving, they definitely have to up it a bit, because otherwise they're going to be running out of time before they even reach the library at this point.
Cutting their way across Piano, 1:30, half the time gone, and no kills netted this time round. It's been a bit back and forth and late and delayed before, but here, the juggling of utility, the importance of the power position on towards Ivy is going to start to come together. The similar holds, you know, sort of fully expressed. You've obviously got the mute jammers in the same sort of idea, but none of the catches. Perez is caught. Can he drop down? Ooh, yes. As he actually get Doc stimmed back up, and, well, the C4 doesn't net the kill over the top, but that is a huge pick back up. It means everybody's still standing. Yes, they can take the territory. As the pressure starts to explode, all of the Raza co-players have been able to escape, and Perez gets revenge for what was almost done to him before. He drops it back on them tenfold. They make their way inside of library. Great. But 30 seconds, how can you turn this into a plant?
It's not just that, but just look at where the Raza Company players are as well. They're finding themselves in kitchen, they're finding themselves in dining, they're below, they're on the side itself. They have completely no control of any of the horizontal kind of level out here. And his live just quickly checking the blue stairs. Well, that Gumine is going to be giving away the kind of game that comes through as Dan comes in from the rear, inside the kitchen, finds one. 10 seconds left though, Emmy. They need to get a plan down. They don't have Pantry under control. This should be it.
Well, that's it. They're going for the smoke cover, but there's the drop on the hatch and the drop of the player. Rossetto's inside, fighting back and forth, but it's a 3 versus 1. And Raza not done yet. 5-3. Where are they going to opt to go next? Becomes the start of that question, obviously, because they weren't a million miles away when they were playing themselves down and towards the basement.
Seems like they're going back to, oh, never mind, they swapped it out. Kitchen dining seems to be the site we're headed next to. Up towards that first floor. Top floor control, quite important here. Virtus.pro kind of struggled taking that in that last round. It took them a long time before they were able to get bedroom under control, like about 1:30. And they didn't really have the time anymore to continue pushing on towards bar gaming. Now, of course, as soon as they have top floor control here, they're already right above the site. But it also means that Raza Company is probably going to be paying even more attention towards that top floor. And if Virtus.pro already struggle with it then, they might as well struggle with it now quite badly.
Well, statistically, this is the best site that Virtus.pro have been able to attack this tournament, with 2 of 3 of their attacking round wins coming together. But the thing is, with Raza Company, they just don't play top floor on defense. And to be fair, they're not the only team. Quite a lot of teams have moved away from enjoying it. It's become predictable in some manners. It's become easy to sort of force players out. So why risk it when they're a team that loves to sort of extend themselves over the map, say, come and find me, fight me, pull back, pull back, pull back. Okay, you've got 30 seconds. What are you going to do? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't really, but they like to be a bit obstinate with their approach towards the hold. And as I said before, we'll see if maybe this is one of those sites where actually it gives Virtus.pro a bit of energy as they try and clear their way across at the top. Quick eyes towards, obviously, Trophy, the stretch of the site itself, but they don't want to get themselves onto the windows because they know what, well, they know what they've done to people before, let alone what could be done to them.
Heard that drone just flying in, trying to figure out where it is. Eventually will be shut down. Not too much intel being gained there from that drone by Virtus.pro. So that's going to keep them at bay just slightly. Joystick still looking through. Flashbangs being tossed in. I mean, they're just all doing a little bit of prep work here because there's no one in a position to actually follow up on any of those flashbangs to go through. If anything, it might have stopped them from hearing the audio of the drone to come in, but that's also not the case, considering I believe it was SDK instantly shutting that down. They're just not able to get the information they are looking for because every single drone that is being tossed in is being shut down as quickly as it entered the building. So Virtus.pro, they're just going to have to try and go in blind here. They're just going to try and have to go and make a decision and just stick with it.
Again, 1:30. They're still partially outside the building, weighing up their options and wanting to put aggression in towards them. But Shepard looks over the opening of West Main, as Pasha looks over the opening of Trophy, and as Dan looks over the cross of Always. It's just a lot of looking in. Here's the 3-2-1 go. Here's the action, and it's an easy first pickup, I say, as it went on a lot longer than it should have. But Live gets Dan, wants to get whoever is next on the fight, but as bullets spray over the top, they know the player's surrounded, but what do they have to force them out? They don't have any frag grenades left. They don't have any flashes. They don't really have any air jabs or Bs. It is just a gun game from this point onwards, moving forward from the side of Virtus.pro, and I'm kind of a bit curious what the plan was, because they don't have a lot.
No, and I mean, like, you just saw all of it being used and tossed in to try and get those drones in, to get the information. A bit of misuse of some of the utility out here. Shepard missing the opportunity to confirm a kill on Live, who's playing around on those blue stairs. He is going to be quite stuck, though. So he's about to be swung, I believe, by a player that just jumped in from the window. Pasha comes in, finds a huge kill. Suddenly they're going to be all over the site. However, Bassetto still around, finds his first, knows about the second one. Is going to be able to get some shots down, but Joystick kind of dodges right out of the way as he leans back in with the AK and finds the kill before he's almost taken down himself.
10 seconds, and they've got to try and stick a plant without Vertical, and Flastery now means without Joystick as well. Always, he can't even get through the rotate in the blind as he baits out the motion, leaving Shepard alone. But with 1 second, another Raza round, another fight back from a 5-2 deficit to 5-4.
I'm just going to call. We're headed towards overtime. There's two ways around it. Virtus.pro need to win one more round to at least secure themselves for it. And they're still in a good position to do so. They're still around ahead. And the Snowmobile and Wine Cellar are again going to be chosen as a defensive stronghold And they just didn't have anything. They used all the utility up so early. And they didn't just use it. They didn't do anything with it. They were just throwing in their flashbangs. And no one was in a position to even follow up on them. It doesn't really give you anything. And it made them so, like, they didn't have anything anymore to deal with the player on the blue stairs, able to pick up a free kill as you repel in.
How many rounds can potentially separate the end of this game now?
That is going to 6.
6?
3 to 6. Or 2 to 6, I'd say.
6 we'll probably see.
Yeah, 6 is looking likely.
We have theoretically one half of Siege left.
Yeah.
Or at least one set. No, I mean, you cannot deny these two teams are playing with everything they've got right now. Everything that they can pull out as late as it's going. This is one of the latest that we've had a series go on at the end of a day as well. So we scream towards the ending potentially. It's just these big body blows. Dan here trying to get his first step in as the Deimos. He's 10-7. He has made sure that he keeps himself positive. Pasha is as well, but otherwise the team is struggling to get the same sort of aggression that we say before. I mean, remember Dan, one of those rounds was huge. I think it was a 4K that he locked himself in on. So that's the sort of line of success here. Down in the basement. It was lost before, but it was as close as it could possibly be. A good strong arm at the end from the side of Virtus.pro netted them the kill. I'm wondering if what they're going to do this time, Raza, is be a little bit less aggressive around the map. Seemingly, yes. Before, obviously, they had a player still playing around this space. They had Flashtree still in the bar, and Virtus.pro were able to get 2 kills before they came for the execute, and they came down to big trade-outs. This time, Raza have just decided, look, they can have a bit of the map. We're not going to give you any bodies.
Oh, he's not really been locked out, but he's definitely playing around in the hallway there on Boiler. You see Flashtree on the other side of that reinforcement. It's just going to try and stop anybody from moving in from the trench door. Now, there is going to be a long angle, so rotating back is probably not going to be an option for him anymore as long as they are not dealing with that Deimos. The track is starting to come through. Flashtree taking quite a lot of damage. He's holding on strong with a shotgun. It's going to be very hard for them to actually take this fight. He just needs to make sure he doesn't die by the smoke. Single more breath and he would.
But there was fire behind him, smoke in front of him, and now the smoke forces them off again, and you gotta thank Live for, I think, saving your life. To be fair, he's a warden with a shotgun, and they're blinding him. It's a position he loves to play, but, you know, it's just bought out. Both firebolts from Shepard. They haven't been able to net the kill. Another smoke canister, and they just think, screw it. Huge amount of damage done to Dan, breathing it all in because there was a shield, and Perez finds always Flashtree. He's stuck here, but so are they, and they can't find a way past it. Pasha drives through the heart, but Flashtree fights his way out, and Joystick trades onto SDK. 20 seconds. Warden is still in red, still causing problems, and Dan finally stops them. But they've got to get the kit. They've got to get it back to site, and Brisetto ready, waiting, and willing to drop it again. 5 seconds. This point, Live needs to keep a distance, but he doesn't care for it. He wants the kills.
A huge round to come through for the side of Raza company. And it all just lived and died with the Warden being around and Border or Red, however you want to call it. And Live being able to basically perfectly time those smoke canisters, forcing back the attack. And you see the desperation at that point from Virtus.pro. What did Dan do? He's like, I don't really have another option than just to run through the smoke, see if I can maybe get a lucky swing out. Which wasn't the case. The shield was out there. They weren't able to clear that either. Now a tactical timeout. Virtus.pro, 20 seconds left roughly on that timeout, where they can try and address the issues that have been going on, because again, this game was just slipping away from them. It was a 5-2 that they had available to them. A 4-2 after the first split. And again, they find themselves at an equal scoreline. And things are starting to slip, and Raza Company are starting to solidify themselves as a potential top 6 team here. For both teams, it's 2 rounds and they're there.
Are you a believer yet? is a question I'll just leave hanging in the air.
They definitely are.
5-5. And now, with 3 sites done in succession, we're gonna see. And this game has gone on so long.
But the studio around is already shutting down.
The lights have just been turned off in the studio room that we are in.
It is quite literally just the TVs
Hap
now.
and I are all that is left, alongside the brilliant team behind the B
I
stream.
like to think it's just Bruno and us right now. Just, you know, the good old Parisian days that we had.
And I think Medics is observing.
Yeah, and our observer, of course. Like, otherwise the cameras would move around. Oh, no.
Nova is observing. But I'm told Medics is in the building.
It's very important knowledge.
Good to know.
Probably looking for pigeons. That's what he usually does.
5-5 VP. You now have to try and push over a team that has tied 3 rounds in a row. They have this as a success story. Can you break it?
The big question is, can they break it indeed? Raza, there's no pressure on you. It is all on Virtus.pro. They are the favorites in this lineup. They are expected to win. They were expected to win by 2-0. You've already stopped that. And now, 2 more rounds and you find yourselves top 6. It's a hell of a lot of money that they will be taking home. But also to get to have the experience playing on the main stage of Six Invitational. A dream of any player who've ever competed in this game. And a chance to lift the hammer in front of, well, thousands of fans of the game.
How long will it take Virtus.pro to find a first body? How long will it find them to get that first bit of pressure as Ivy gets caught out? The track stingers weren't caught and they lose the grenade, which they'll probably be frustrated about.
Why throw the tracks first? Maybe because of
I think it was the timing of the discs, or
Yeah.
maybe... No, because it was an ADS that caught it.
Yeah, indeed. It's like, if it goes off, it was probably...
What? The run out! Perez! Out the window! Joystick out of the round! Your Capitao is gone! Those power positions on rafters and top fireplace are gone! Live! Gets always the track stingers! The control on the back is gone too! And is this round soon to follow? They are out of there. Raza, a lot of the players fell back to the site. As soon as they got that second confirmation, gone. Have the top floor. We don't need it. It's yours. What we got was 2 of your players.
It is starting to slip away now. And there was no opportunity for Virtus.pro to try and play on the refrags. Things are slowly starting to fall apart as Perez ascends from the staircase, takes himself with yet another kill. It is Pasha that will find him from above, but he will give away his position as a result of it. They know where he is. They're not going to challenge him. They're going to let him be. And then the question is, where is Shepard? The one other member that is around as Pasha is looking to make a push happen, being shot from multiple directions. He has on no HP left. Shepard, the last man standing with 7 seconds, is going to find nothing for his efforts. And Raza Company are 1 round away from solidifying themselves in a top 6 position at SI.
I ask again, do you believe yet?
See, this has to go to overtime, Emmy. We've said it before. We need to see this to go to overtime. But Raza Company are definitely putting in a bid here to buy themselves a whole lot of new fans, of people watching this game. And like, we were not familiar with your game, but we definitely appreciate this as they've gone the mile. They've literally played almost the max amount of rounds they can in this series, together with, of course, a pretty decently long best of 3 earlier today. But I believe. I think it's possible.
You believe?
I believe. It might not be this round, but if this does go to OT, I mean, Raza Company is definitely having the momentum right now. They're starting to take it by storm. And what would one more spawn peek or jump out do now?
Oh, it would break mental. Virtus.pro, they are more than capable of setting this one into OT, and Dan was almost caught by SDK on a spawn peek. You talked about what it would do, and it almost was done. Joystick, he was trying to get the catch. Hope they went on the hatch, and well, they're moving hot and fast. They know they can maybe catch a Raza player, but live, he's drifted his way down blue. They're pulling themselves further away. And with eyes on locked, those loose players become tantalizing for Virtus.pro's approach.
There's a lot of work to do here for Virtus.pro for the approach that they're going for. Live needs to be found. The E1D will pop. SDK is giving away his position, but there's nothing they can find. A player in the bar is hidden right behind some bulletproof material. You can fire all you want, but you're not going to find him. And he's aware of the player inside of Mud. He's sending some shots down whilst he's retreating to the side. What are you doing? Someone in the main door didn't see him. Always, though, will find the kill. So that's the entry for the side of Virtus.pro, but it should have been 2.
They have 1, and they have it quicker than it's been in a very, very long time. The entry statistic has evaded them for a very, very long time as well. Only the second time this half it has been caught by them. But they still need to push this one over the edge. Quick fight happens. SDK sort of just putting some pressure back on. He has some gadgetry he can utilize and work with, but he doesn't want to get caught with his back to the fight itself, so he slips and slinks away with a little bit more safety.
Using the Goyo canister to make sure he's not being challenged from the balcony. Trying to slip away further. A minute left on the clock. Live down below has the opportunity to play a Nitro to stop this plant from happening. He's in a crucial spot to try and stop this Virtus.pro approach. With 45 seconds, look at the presence up on top. Dan, and always, still putting up the pressure. Shepard taking an initial amount of damage. Again, he's down on like 1 HP. That's a player all the way in the back of blue that's providing some cover, as always, is hunting up top.
He didn't even know where it was coming from in 30 seconds. Dan goes down. That huge player we talked about is caught, but Pasha steps back in, gets Pasetto. Look underneath, though. There's a chance at pressure live. With a C4 wants to let loose up through the hatch if they go for the plant on the chassis. There's the transition across. There is a lineup. They're trying to find it. They're waiting, but there it is. The C4 in 6 seconds. SDK and Live holding down. The spray doesn't connect. They're looking for a single engagement. The plant being secured by Dan. He's able to just make it stick. 3 versus 1, and we are going to overtime. Would you have it any other way?
There is no other way that this game could end than to go towards overtime. And we're getting at least 42 out of the 45 we could have seen. But they almost had that under control. The Nitro cell was perfect, but then unfortunately the misses to come through as the last players of Virtus.pro push over towards that diffuser to try and stick it. There were all 3 inside of that dining room, but none were found.
Raza on defense. I mean, this just the positioning, but again, you know, if they hadn't have got Dan up, or if the kill had been confirmed, razor thin margins of success. We are in to our 3rd OT. I believe, and I don't have the full data on this, that this is the first game across the tournament that has gone into 3 OTs.
You're welcome. Such a, you know.
Thanks, mate.
But no, you know, some people wanted to watch a Super Bowl, but why watch the Super Bowl when you have Raza Company going up against Virtus.pro to qualify as a top 6 team here at SI, going all the way. It has been an incredible game so far, with many highs for a lot of these players. I mean, we've talked about how SDK, you know, was struggling, then came alive in 3rd map of the previous series that they've played, and suddenly became, you know, a mainstay. He's doing quite well as well now with those 10 kills he has on the board. But overall, it is Raza that is really impressing us a lot here. And Virtus.pro have given themselves another opportunity. Dan was just recovering from the hammer swing, and suddenly someone steps in front of his window. You instantly see the rotate out. Everybody's going back towards the bedroom side of the map.
Perez suffering the first taste of damage and, you know, opting to come back here, back towards kitchen, back towards the site that they just lost. I said that they sort of rotate at some points, but they have some confidence here. Maybe there's expectation that is put forward. They've doubled down on bar gaming. Maybe they would go there. They've found success elsewhere, but no. Their most recent is the one where they think they can get themselves but one round away once again. Virtus.pro. They're still picking up the pace. Last time at this point, they had an opening kill, and they might be about to find another, but it's a very narrow line, and he's just rotating himself back and in and out and in, and, well, you don't want to find yourself on the other side of a pre-fire, because, well, that's what this game is. It's jiggling angles. It's juggling bullets and hoping you're the one that gets the lucky timing. You know where each other are, but it holds you up, and scratch damage, but it's not netting anything for the attackers. That will no! SDK went on an adventure, and he punishes Pasha for it. Goes down, and probably will be confirmed. But that's 30 seconds of game we've just watched.
I mean, this is SDK, right? He's been wasting time the entire series long. It's his job just to be there, waste that time, got a kill for his efforts. Let's be honest, he shouldn't have been allowed to get in the very first place. But now, Virtus.pro reconsidering themselves. They are going to be starting to put themselves more towards the side, trying to get that plan down in any second now. Is there going to be any pressure from below? I don't think there currently is. No, one up above, 3 down on the horizontal levels. So as joystick goes down, it's another huge kill to come through. Razah Company might find themselves here on 7.
The timer has entered that ominous pulse of the final throws. The 3 VP players, they're able to at least get one, the entry, and they're pre-firing on the second. Shepard has the cover, but the C4 is shot out. Has to get the cover, cannot find the connection, cannot find the follow-through. The plant is being danced around. They didn't get the drop. They can't get it, Virtus.pro! Again! On the precipice of failure, they build a monument of success.
Oh.
And I cannot.
How much more can we have from these kind of rounds? I mean, we haven't had a single of these maps go to 15 yet. But why not? Why not do it now? I don't think Raza is going to be given up as we head towards master bedroom and office. And surely they'll feel a little bit stingy about, you know, how round number 12 went away from them. We saw the physical pain in their faces as they lost that one. Pasha there, he was very frustrated by the way he died on STK, just running out. But the round still went their way. And that means a lot. This is, Fresh just confirmed it, the very first game that's gone to 40 plus rounds. We're going to get at least 42. This is round 42 of the series.
I mean, however it goes from this point onwards, you cannot deny these two teams have played their heart out. 6-7 Raza. They are staring down lower bracket right now. They have the pressure of their attack to make stick. It's been a long time since we've been on this half of the game, and where we go is the site that they could not win. Master bedroom.
Hey, you know what I said? Statistics are going to be breaking at some point. What would it be for a kind of round to win your very first attack on this side of the map? They'll be looking for it. They're going to give it their all. They know they're up for a tough ask, but they also know it's now or never. It's not like they'll be eliminated after this, but surely they're going to be looking to try and get themselves up towards the main stage. And as the openings are being made, pressure is starting to rise. The drone game is already on point. They know exactly what is clear and what is not. And they know where they can push and where they cannot. And as there's 2 minutes left on the clock, Virtus.pro they're inching closer and closer to get themselves confirmed top 6 in what kind of a tough game that was for them. But Razah Company, they still have some cards in the hand. They still have some moves to make.
They knew they had their best opportunity the round before. How much of that will sort of take away from them? Perez, he's swinging his way up towards sunny view on Vastro. Across the planters, but always is more than ready to respond with his own rebuttal of bullets. You can see they're struggling to find their first way in. The reveal of the bees, and the player will get tucked around, but well, as the flashes come through, there's got to be something on the back of it, and the player in the bathroom. That's going to be the first engagement. Perez wins it out, and there's the run out, and it gets Flash 3 joystick. But there's Perez doubling down, and SDK pushing aggressively up to the wall. There's one more for Perez. He has been so crucial for this roster to fight their way to this situation, and he's shut out at the end of a triple kill. There's a second down. There's 3. But it is live. We do not stop. It does not end. We are going and going because neither team, none of these players refuses to give up.
Dan had no clue where the last player was. An amazing flank through the bathroom, finding 3 kills, leaving only 1. But you know what I said in round 3? There's only this many rounds that we could potentially have left. It is down to that very last round that can be played in this series. There is no infinite overtime. It is a best of 1
God.
in rounds to decide who wins this one. And closer than this, we haven't had in this entire tournament. And they are hyped. They are ready for it. And statistics are meant to be broken at some point. And they were.
Statistics were broken.
Screw the stats. Just go with the plays.
I
was drinking, sorry.
Very funny sound. Have I asked you a question?
Yes.
Do you believe yet?
And my answer was yes. But it is going to overtime. And another spawn peek attempt is made there. SDK missing the opportunity of finding an opening kill. But the tone is set for this round. We are here to be aggressive. Be aware, because we will come for you. And Virtus.pro, I mean, they've been in these situations before, but even they will have their heart beating in their necks right now. The adrenaline is surging as Shepard goes in quick. He's trying to put up the pressure onto Pantry. That will open up. That's going to stop them from playing that securely. There's so much more to be done. But
well,
it
it's
mute
jammed. Yeah, they've got that in case they can get rid of that jammer and get rid of it. They'll probably try very, very focused on it. In fact,
they got it.
They got it on the other side. And, well, now that's still some time bought for them, a minute. And the first quick strike has not netted them the result they would want. There's still just a shutdown of utility, this extension. Perez and Flastry. Sometimes it is too much of a risk, but sometimes we've seen Virtus.pro slip up and not be able to catch them as they're sort of pushed back to the site.
43 rounds. It's all coming down to this. Minute 30 left. And Virtus.pro is finding themselves in the attack. They have to go over towards the bar in gaming area. There's just a single player close because the rest is currently working on clearing out the bedroom. The drones are rolling, but the time is also ticking. They're going to have about a minute left to clear that top floor and actually get themselves on the site. There's someone on mezzanines. There's someone on those back stairs as well. There's players all around the place for Razah Company. There's so much work to be done here for Virtus.pro. As the rotations are coming through, no damage is done by those firebolts, and SDK still holding strong on top.
I mean, at this point, you're sort of looking at the clock and sort of wondering as we fall into our final minute, regardless of what happens here outside of a plant, but we haven't really seen one of those in a while. Basetto gets the first on towards joystick, and that was on the gaming window. They have support, they have friends, and they have a structure that Virtus.pro cannot currently find a way to break 30 seconds. And there's a bit of a rotate
now.
here. I said before they play this wide and loose game. And Dan, how expecting is he of this play? How aware?
He knows.
Pretty aware as he's ready for the pressure to come round. It doesn't seem like, well, Perez was as clued in, but 13 seconds. You have to execute. You have to go. And there's live. He's going in his own manner. Flashtree gets one more. Dan screaming for the kit, but he's crossed out. Raza against all odds. The lowest seed, the LCQ, the 5 players who have never been at Six Invitational before. Live, SDK, Bassetto, Perez, Flashtree are confirmed top 6. They believed.
Look at that. They're just so overwhelmed with emotions, and rightfully so. They played a hell of a game. 43 rounds, 2 best-of-3s in the day, and they find themselves at the grandest stage of them all. A well-deserved victory for them. They have given it them all. They have come back from a 6-1 to bring it back to a map win, to do it again on the second time around on Chalet. Talk about sweeps or reverse sweeps. This was definitely one of them.
What a series that was. Nobody expected it. Virtus.pro gave it all they could. They too fought back against the odds. They too fought back in rounds that weren't quite in their favor. They too were the other team to tango, because you cannot have a series that goes the distance like this without all 10 players giving it their all. But only one team at the end can stay and stand in the upper bracket, and that is Raza. Virtus.pro fall to the lower bracket.
They, of course, will fight tomorrow.